it's an actual launch or not. So you go through all the procedures.
Yep.
Launch it, and then you're like, oh, I didn't.
Like you're really going live, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
He said they were silent for like 70 days in a row.
Silent but deadly.
Yeah. To the cruise missile subs, so they took the Trident and Polaris missiles out and they put in cruise missiles.
Oh wow!
They redid tubing, yeah. So now instead of firing ICBMs, they fire cruise missiles. A lot of them.
Well, have you seen the new subs? They're freaking huge.
Oh yeah. Well, the Alpha, the Typhoon, for a long time was the largest submarine in. And the Typhoon actually had a pool inside of it,
what?
Which is kind of ironic because you're at the bottom of the ocean and go swimming. I thought that was ironic.
How many?
Beyond an extremely limited nuclear exchange is pretty much going to end the world, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, once you pull the trigger, it's over, dude. Right. Everyone's dead.
Dude, yeah, you fire, then they fire, then you fire again, then they fire again. But even in a
there's 100 nukes flying. It's over. Yeah.
Yeah, because the other problem that you face, right, is that even in a fairly limited exchange, right, that the amount of damage that it does to the atmosphere and other stuff, you go into a nuclear winter. It doesn't actually take much to plunge you into a nuclear winter. So
I'm surprised we haven't been in one with all the nuclear testing they were doing in the atmosphere. Back in they were doing in the 50s and 50s through the 70s.
This is the man to talk to about it.
They didn't light up enough to actually do that. Plus, the other thing about a nuclear winter is that also implies that you have ground detonations, because one of the things that happens is that all the material from the ground is chucked up into the air.
Oh, okay. So
you have that too.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
but it has to be like surface.
Well, not all of them. I mean, if you fire enough that are, I mean, we would do onesie twosies at a time, right? If you want to have a nuclear winter, you need to fire off like a couple hundred of them.
Oh, okay.
At least.
I was just about to message you, Trish.
I'm sorry, I'm late.
No, there's no late.
Hi.
No sorries either.
Hold on, I'm trying to get my son needed me.
He always needs you.
Sandwich like that's anything or new. A biscuit.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
I just wanted to welcome everyone who's watching. Tonight's Synchro night. We'll get to that in a second. So, happy Saturday. Been gone for a while.
It's
been a minute. I don't even know. It's been like 3 weeks.
And you'll be here soon.
Oh, sweet. No, Trisha is not the special guest. Olav is. Well, she's special, obviously.
I'm not special.
I don't need any more.
That's all. You guys can continue your World War II stuff.
Sorry, yeah, I interrupted.
World War III, actually.
That's never gonna, nukes are a hoax, dude. It's never going to happen.
Well, it won't. The whole idea of us nuking the Russians and the Russians nuking us, it won't happen. And it's all based on something called game theory, which was developed by a guy named John Nash at RAND.
Yep.
And basically they took a poker match and reduced it down to a mathematical calculation. And he actually won a Nobel Prize in economics for it. But that's the basis of all, well, maybe not now, but it was the basis of arms control and international arms control was based on that. And détente was the idea that if you hit us, we'll hit you harder, and then you'll hit us harder, and then we'll all die. So there's no point.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they had a funny game at RAND when Nash developed game theory. they called it "fuck you, buddy," and basically there were two players, right, and they would break people into pairs, and there were two people in each game, and one was a fence and one was a jewel thief, and the jewel thief and the fence had agreed to meet in the desert to exchange the jewels for the money, and they tried to model the outcome of, well, what would the jewel thief do and what would the fence do? And, you know, the logical scenario is, well, the jewel thief's going to shoot the fence and take the money, or the fence would shoot the jewel thief and take the jewels. That's why you formed a détente, because you both knew that you'd kill each other. So you tended to actually exchange the product, so to speak, and leave, because the risk was too high that if you try to do something that they would kill you. So you ended up not doing anything at all, or you just would cancel the meetings.
Yeah,
and they called it fuck.
Sense.
Yeah,
that's a good name.
The shit I know, it's obscure and arcane, and it's really great when I go to a bar. I just sit there by myself. I entertain myself.
So, what do you know about the Nazi bell, the Dicklaka?
What do I know about the Nazi bell? Well, the Nazi bell, the story came to a guy named Igor Witowski from a friend of his who was in Polish intelligence. And they had gotten a story, Polish intelligence had gotten a story in World War II from a guy named Jacob Spornberg, who was a SS officer. And he attempted to exchange the information for to keep from being shot. I believe they shot him anyway, but it was basically it was a project. The source of the technology is unknown. My friend Walter, he's found evidence of it in the Arrows, which are the mysterious airships of the 1880s and 1890s. And he's found evidence that
Synchro Aero Club type airships.
Yeah,
talking about Bosley.
Yeah, Walter Bosley.
Friend of the show.
Yeah.
He's found evidence. That the bell existed in Delshau's collages. So the technology may be extremely old, but basically it was a project to build effectively an anti-gravity engine at a place called Derisi, which it translates into the giant, and it was a series of bunkers built near a munitions plant in the Hartz Mountains, the Owl Mountains, and they tested it and a bunch of stuff, and then the guy who was running the operation was a guy named Hans Kammler, who had a PhD in engineering, and he had actually taken over the special projects from Albert Speer, and he had worked his way up through the SS. He actually was the guy assigned to clean out the Warsaw Ghetto and destroy it, and he was also one of the architects of the concentration camp system. He actually oversaw the construction of a number of them. Anyway, so toward the end of the war, he vanished. He died, I think, like 8 times. But the story goes is that they loaded the bell and the scientists for the bell into a plane. They shot all the technicians, and then they disappeared. And some people believe they went to base 211 in Antarctica.
Is that where Admiral Byrd was, or allegedly went to?
Well, no, he was there, but the fight that he supposedly had, the alleged battle that happened in Antarctica. Yeah. But what's interesting is that, you know, a lot of people dismiss the 211 idea, but they actually caught a number. They caught and a number of U-boats surrendered down in the South Atlantic, and they were retrofitted mine U-boats that they had turned into cargo U-boats. And so, like, one of them that was captured off the East Coast, I think it was U-235. It actually had a complete Messerschmitt 262 on board and a bunch of lead-lined cylinders. I think there were 6 or 8 lead-lined cylinders. A bunch of scientists, a Japanese admiral, a Japanese captain, and a few other people. And they actually captured it off the East Coast. So they were running out of Norway. They were running a number of cargo U-boats down, you know, down on a southern path that nobody's ever really been able to explain. So, there's evidence. And the plane that they used was a Junkers 390, which is a gargantuan plane. And it had enough of a range where they could easily get into like somewhere in Africa, refuel, and then they could have made it to Antarctica. But in the case of the Junkers 390, supposedly there was a test over the North Atlantic where they were doing a simulated nuclear bomb run against New York. And they successfully fueled a Junkers 390 with a 290 in flight. So, go ahead.
That was, yeah, with like a hose, right?
Yeah, so they put a fuel bladder into the 290 and they ran a hose from the 290 and got it into the 390 while it was still flying, and then they refueled it. So if that was possible, then really, the sky's the limit of where they could have taken that plane.
Yeah, and that was what year? What year was that?
I think that was in like 43, 44.
I didn't even know they had refuel capabilities.
Yeah, nobody does. The Germans had all kinds of kooky stuff that they had guns that could fire around corners. I mean, they had all kinds of crazy things. I mean, if you look on the Wikipedia, not that it's the center of all knowledge of the universe, but it can be good for some things. If you look at the list of nuclear accidents, right, one of the first that you'll see is actually in Werner Heisenberg's lab in Germany in like the 30s. He had like a nuclear accident. So they were fairly sophisticated. They had synthetic fuel, synthetic oil, synthetic blood, and it was crazy.
And black goo allegedly too.
Yeah, the black goo, right? That's how they built the Ubermensch,
right.
Superman. They filled him with black goo.
Superman.
There you go.
I had.
It's a Nietzschean.
I forget who.
It's from Nietzsche.
I know. I remember hearing that too. Kecksburg was somehow connected to the bell. They thought maybe that it ended up there.
So the device that was found at Kecksburg has a distinct resemblance to the bell. And one of the things that people always talk about with the acorn is that it was covered in hieroglyphics. But the thing is that to the untrained eye, right, that if you just walk up, if you're just Bob down the street having a beer and you show up and here's this big acorn looking thing sitting there and it's covered in weird writing, the probably the closest thing that you would equate to it is hieroglyphics. But in reality, I would argue to you that it was most likely runes. And because the German occultists had they were very occultist, and especially in the SS, and they had a tendency to cover all their stuff with runes because they thought that it imbued it with special powers. So I suspect that
it may have. Huh? It may have. We don't know.
And yeah, it may have. I mean, runes haven't worked out for me lately, but it's possible.
Maybe you're not truly of Norse descent.
Oh, I'm very of Norse descent.
I'm kidding. Dude.
I know my lineage back to like 500 AD.
Cool. So does Suzanne. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do too.
Oh, I forgot what I was going to say. So one of the interesting things about the bell that a lot of people argue that it's impossible and you're just misunderstanding what you saw and yada yada. Well, if you look at like the Betty and Barney Hill story, right, which is probably the most famous abduction story on the face of the earth, the original hypnotic regression of Betty and Barney Hill, they talk about Barney, especially, he talked about getting out of the car and the disc lands and he's shooting at it. He had a 45 that he carried.
Yeah.
And he was actually shooting at the UFO. Well, when they were taken aboard the UFO, the way that he actually described the occupants in the first regression, it changed after the first, but in the first one, he described them as being Nazis. And he actually said that they were wearing black jumpsuits with silver piping that reminded him of Nazi tankers, SS tankers, guys in tanks. And they were led through the ship by a redheaded Irishman. And a lot of people, dismiss it as crazy talk because it's like, well, why would a redheaded Irishman be there with a bunch of Nazis, right? And the thing is that during World War II, the IRA, who was fighting England, the IRA actually, they allied themselves with the Nazis, and the Nazis supplied them with guns and ammunition and training. And there were actually former IRA members that fought in the SS Legions. That they had like an entire group of Irishmen that actually fought with the Germans at some of the nastier battles on the Eastern Front. And he had a German Shepherd, which makes sense. But the other thing, and then there's the whole idea of the Marjorie Fish star map. But the other thing that I always enjoy about the whole, Nazi UFO thing is that if you look at the iconography, there's a writer from the 50s and the 60s named Otto Bender. And Otto Bender wrote an article in like Sega or one of the old UFO mags, and he did an analysis where he took all these photos of UFOs and iconography that people had seen on the UFOs, right? And he outlined what all these things were. And looking at it then means something different than now. So what I did is I looked at the article he wrote and I looked at the photos and I found comparisons where, things like the UMO, for example, that corresponded to an actual fascist group. And a lot of the symbols that he had found actually corresponded to various fascist groups. Like, some of them were Luftwaffe symbols. Some of them belonged to like the Italian fascist air force. There was the British Union of Fascists and a whole bunch of others. And then the other thing that he found is that a lot of people reported that stenciled on the sides of these UFOs when they would see them is that they had Roman-based lettering. So you'd see like 2 letters and then 4 to 6 digits. So you'd see like US and then 4 numbers, or you'd see, RU and then 4 numbers, or UN and 4 numbers. And it was like, well, why if I'm an alien, why would I stencil English on the side of my alien spaceship? And then the last thing that I really, really think is funny is that back during the contactee era, there was a guy named Valiant Thor. And Valiant Thor had come supposedly from Venus to meet with Americans to talk about what the Venusians could do to help us, as they were space brothers, right? Well, he actually did go to the Pentagon, and it's in the entry logs, apparently, that he did indeed go there. Him and Commander Dawn, of course, the Dawn is spelled with 2 N's because it's space age. But the question that I always have that people gets a good giggle is that if I'm an alien and I'm from wherever, Alpha Centauri, Barnard Star, Zeta Reticuli, Betelgeuse, whatever, if I'm an alien, why would I name my child Valiant Thor, the brave god of thunder? Why would I do that? That makes no sense.
I thought that was idiotic. His White House code name.
No, that was his name. Why would I do that?
Because
why would I
real?
Name them that? Right, and then Commander Dawn with 2 N's. I mean, come on, that just makes it space age.
It's like Don, what's his face from Lost in Space, right?
Right.
It's about the same time.
That's just like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah. It's probably the acronym for the group that was running that PSYOP.
Probably.
Well, the other thing that I always question is that when we're in school, we're led to believe that Venus. I'm not saying Venus is particularly nice. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure it's a shithole. I doubt anybody
but Donald Trump declared it.
But let's say, for example,
just kidding.
Let's say, for example, that you want to land a probe on Venus, which we did a couple times, right?
Tried to.
Well, what we're told is that these vehicles would come in and then separate and then go down through the atmosphere with parachutes, right? Well, we're also told that they have sulfuric rain and these clouds are sulfuric acid. So I'm not sure how a silk parachute would survive going through a sulfuric acid cloud, let alone the actual probe itself would melt. And I think the longest that any of them lasted was like Venera, and I think it lasted like 35 minutes and then it melted. But it's like, if you're using a parachute, why didn't the parachute catch on fire or melt itself? So there are a lot of weird. It's also the place we never go. We'll shoot probe after probe after probe to Mars. We'll shoot probe after probe after probe to the moons of Saturn and Jupiter, but we will never go to Venus again. There's just no point. But Venus could actually tell us a lot, because what Venus has is a rampant greenhouse. It's like a greenhouse planet gone wild. So there's all kinds of things we could learn about the greenhouse effect and having too much carbon dioxide in the air and all this other stuff. But we won't go there. We never go there. We always go away from that. So, it makes you wonder. That's a long answer to a short question.
No, it's cool. I'm just thinking there's so many contradictions about space. It's obviously not.
Sure.
It's obviously misdescribed to us. I mean, how the hell did they get past the Van Allen belts, for one? And
well, that I can buy.
Okay, how about all the film?
I can buy that.
How about all the film?
They irradiated the astronauts.
Allegedly.
They all had problems.
Yeah, they did, but that could just be... it doesn't matter. I don't want to get into that. This week, I wanted to... Let me do a short thing real quick, if I can. That we got the Synchro night. I don't know if any of you guys brought any Synchro. Yeah. No.
Did we bring any synchros? Yeah, I could maybe try to think of one that I had.
All right.
That's the thing. I always have them, but I never remember to record them.
No, because Jerry goes, "Wait, Synchro night, don't forget," and then we always forget.
We've had lots of little ones.
I know.
We had a lot, Trisha.
Well, the idea, Olav, is that I announced it a couple weeks before, and then you're supposed to set an intention to have a synchronicity in the next week, 2 weeks.
We had a little one tonight.
Yeah, lots of little ones. Like today I saw 44 like 15, 16 times. But that doesn't count.
I have a tendency to see 33.
I think we started at 10.
It's 10:44 right now.
I looked at my clock and it was 3:33 when I was sending a message.
You're half evil.
9:44.
So the only big synchro I had was sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I always see 33. I see the number 33 everywhere. Or 3. I always see a lot of 3s. That's my...
What do you know what your life path is?
3 is the magic number.
What's your birth date?
August 26th.
August what, 25th?
Yeah, 33.
26.
Oh, 26. 34.
Yeah, do you know his year?
No.
Well, then no, we're wrong.
1975.
Okay, I didn't have a bit of pen and paper, but I had this up in my head.
After the debacle from the
Jerry gets them wrong.
Yeah, after that debacle, I'm not going to even try anymore. I was looking at my pen, I'm like, no.
I'll work out.
My numerology is shitty anyway.
Is it? Why is it shitty? Why is it shitty?
Well, because when you get into numerology, there's so many combinations of numbers. I always mess them up. I literally have to sit there with a chart to figure it out.
You're a life path 11.
Okay. What does that mean?
It means you're godlike.
Yeah, it's the master number. So you've come here to spread spiritual enlightenment to the masses. I've gotten really hot. Sweating.
Me too.
So
I did too. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm having a hot flush. So, but you need to make sure your vibrations are really high, because you've come with, like I say, it's a really important path that you've come to lead, but it's to spread peace, joy, love, harmony, and show the world that it could be a better place, basically.
Well, I will say that I do attempt to follow the golden path. And when I deviate from the golden path, I can really tell. So, as long as you run down the center of the golden path, right, everything works right. If you start to drift off to the sides, then things become chaotic. And I've noticed that I'm a human being, I'm not perfect, right? I've noticed that if I drift off, things become more chaotic. So as long as I go down close to the center as I can, I'm imperfect, as anybody. But as long as I go down the center, things tend to fall into place. So that probably has something to do with it.
And this year in a global year 11, and I sort of predicted last year, I've seen quite a few life path 11s losing their head this year, but it's the ones that are not doing the inner work. So if you're doing your inner work and working on yourself, then you'll be okay. But a lot of people with 11s in the chart or a life path 11 are really struggling because we're ascending very fast.
Is it ascension flu?
They can't keep up, but it's particularly like when we're in a global year 9, a lot of the 9 life paths, so people with lots of 9s in their chart struggled.
Oh, I see.
It's just a prediction of it to be.
I've been doing.
Sorry, go on.
I've been doing all right.
Yeah, you're probably doing the inner work, or you've done the inner work. You know, it's the ones that want to stay stuck in the old ways, and they're not spreading peace, joy, love, whatever. You know. Yeah. They're the ones that are struggling.
Oh yeah, I definitely try to as much as I can.
So that's not a shitty life path number, but it comes with great responsibility. But you have obviously your full chart.
Yeah.
And you've got 2 8s, so CEO, boss, manager. You've got very strong birthday and attitude number.
Well, I'm a principal engineer, so I guess that counts.
Yeah, so you're in a year of endings. You're going to a brand new 9-year cycle anytime soon, really. I find it kicks in just before your birthday, a month or 2 before your birthday.
So what'll happen right before my birthday? Things will change, or
a year 1, which is brand new. It's a brand new 9-year cycle. So this is the opportunity for you to sow new seeds. It's all about the new. Oh. You've been a year of letting go, forgiveness, like get rid of what's not working for you.
That's actually very, very accurate, surprisingly. That is actually extremely accurate.
She's spooky accurate.
Oh, yeah.
That's pretty good. You're pretty good.
Thank you.
Very, very accurate, actually. It's been a year of letting it go. That's true. I had to let a lot of things go.
Yeah, I'm just about to go into a year 9, so I've got that to come. So it's like, I call it a feng shui year, declutter. Anybody that's lowering your vibration, whether it's friends, family, whoever it is, it's time to let go of them. But you're coming out of that.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. And the chaos that causes actually has been receding. So
yeah,
that's actually very, very accurate.
I personally went self-employed in my year 1, but I actually didn't calculate it, just how it worked out. So that was perfect.
Yeah, I'm not self-employed. But...
No, it was a year 1 though. I was starting something new. It was a big change. I mean, I've got 1s in my chart, so. But yeah, I've been having an 8 birthday and 8 attitude number. You can very much be a CEO, a boss, run a company.
Well, actually, one of the things that I was actually contemplating doing was, that you guys may not want to hear this, but in the research circles, right, the whole secret space program, I'm obsessed with certain components of it. I probably always will be, but it's become so fragmented and confusing, and it's kind of played itself out. And I was thinking about changing. Yeah. And I get tired of having these arguments of, well, do you believe that there are blue spheres and bird people? And I don't. And so, that makes you a tad bit of a pariah because it's a pervasive. There's certain people who are very popular, and they have these pervasive theories about how things work, and I don't agree with them.
Like Corey Good and David Wilcock type people.
So I was actually thinking about changing my line of research actually to put that more on the back burner and to invest in more time in something that I've been fairly obsessed with since I was a kid.
So
which is not space program at all.
So that would be perfect because you don't necessarily have to change your job, but you might take a slightly different direction in year 1. So that's interesting. Yeah.
Oh, it's radically different. Well, I mean, I guess you could say that there are elements of it that are conspiratorial in nature, but it's more historic versus hardcore conspiracy, which is what I've done for a long time.
So sounds like it's lining up. Cool.
It does. I have an obsession with Lemuria, and I was thinking about doing more with that. I have a theory about how it fits together. So and it actually a lot of the elements for the Lemuria part of it are not actually very far from where I am, because I live on the West Coast. So the West Coast has tons and tons and tons and tons of stuff that's interrelated to that. So I've thought about doing more research into that.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
Oh yeah, I can be at Mount Shasta within a few hours. So
cool. I'd love to go there. It's supposed to be amazing, the energy.
It's beautiful. Whether you think it's the home of Lemurians or not, it's a pretty cool place, and they do have the lenticular clouds, which are fairly rare. So they're quite often have lenticular clouds, which are beautiful.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I used to be a meteorologist in the Navy, and we used to have to observe them. But that was the one that was stuck in my mind more than any other.
So, are you in England?
Yeah.
So, you were a meteorologist. England has the craziest weather I've ever seen in my life. I lived there. I used to live there. I lived in the UK. Yeah.
Right.
Whereabouts? I lived in Warwickshire. I lived in Leamington Spa.
Oh yeah. Nice.
Yeah, in Warwickshire, and I remember walking to work one day, and it as I started out, it was like cold. It's always cold, but it was cold, and then it started drizzling, and then it started hailing, and then it started sleeting, and then it snowed.
The sun come out.
Yeah, and then the sun came out. It's like you can have 4 seasons in a day in that place, and that's unreal. It's unreal. I've never been anywhere where that happened.
You've never been to Chicago, then?
Never been to Chicago.
I've had mornings where you wake up, it's 70, it goes up to 9. It's like 10 degrees below zero, go up to 70 degrees, come back and snow the same night.
Wait, now, if you want an experience in the UK, right? I used to go out to the Channel Islands a lot, in the little islands out in the English Channel. And one time I had to go out there to install a new system, and I was out there, and we had gale force winds. And gale force winds are bad enough by themselves, right? Because it's just really super ultra windy. I mean, I could lean back and it would hold me up, kind of stuff, right? But normally those winds are somewhat tempered by the fact that you have the heat island effect, which are dissipating them, and you have a lot of structures which are slowing them down or whatever. But on the Channel Islands, there's no trees, there's very little stuff, and it's just like they're like rocks. So that wind comes barreling through there, and there's no mountains or hills or anything. It just like rips across it. So it was probably the most violent windstorms I've ever seen in my life. Short of the desert, but it was pretty.
Was it Jersey you went to, or Guernsey?
No, I went to Guernsey and Alderney. I've actually been to Guernsey, Alderney, and Sark.
Sark.
Isn't Guernsey a type of cow as well?
It is, from Guernsey.
They have a Jersey cows as well. Jersey's really nice. I've been there.
The Jersey potatoes are the best. If you want, what comes from Jersey that's awesome are Jersey Royals.
Yeah.
The little tiny potatoes. They're amazing.
But how are their
meat? Money to live there, Jerry.
How are their meat pies? That's what matters to me.
They're good too.
All right.
But what's amazing as an American who lived in England, what's amazing is that when you go to the store, right? Assuming you don't go to Asda, you go to like Sainsbury's or Tesco is kind of like Safeway, but at Sainsbury's, right? You go in there, and in America we have yellow potatoes, we have brown potatoes, we have red potatoes. We have a few more, but it's pretty much yellow, brown, or red, right? You go into the produce aisle, and it's like there's like 20 or 30 different kinds of potatoes. Oh. It's crazy. It's nuts. There's one called a Maris Piper. The Maris Piper was actually my favorite.
How's the vodka over there?
Huh?
How's the vodka over there?
Well, here's
the same as same as you get anyway.
Here's a synchro. I'm eating potato salad right now.
There you go.
So
actually, what's good?
England. Yeah, I'm used to come back from England.
I just been in the Wiltshire area, Salisbury, Avebury.
Oh, sure. Hey, did the fact that Stonehenge is next to a freeway, did that like blow your mind or what?
Well, I've seen Stonehenge like 15 years ago. And this year they totally changed it. Like at one point you could like at least see the stones from the street. But now they rebuild it and you can't even get to there anymore.
A bigger parking lot?
Yeah.
I used to drive past there every week and I never went.
Yeah, but now you can't see it anymore.
Well, the funny thing that always blew my mind.
I think they want to build a bridge now.
Well, get rid of the tunnel?
There's no more tunnel.
There's no more tunnel? I'm dating myself. You know what blew my mind, though, is that when I went, you see these pictures of Stonehenge, and you get this feeling like it's in the middle of a field.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and it's
and it is. No. It is, but there's like a huge freeway that runs right next to it. So you're like having your metaphysical moment with the stones and whatever, and there's like a huge truck going past. It's like honking.
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
It's the busiest street too over there. It's like so busy. You're mostly in the traffic jam, depending on the time.
I think it's the A303 or something like that goes past there, something like that.
But you know what I found, and this is odd. What I found is that as I've gone to places like that, whether it's Rosslyn or Stonehenge or the Glastonbury Tor or the Georgia Guidestones or whatever, they're all off of big ass roads. They're all off of big roads. Like the Georgia Guidestones is like 50 feet from the road. You pull off the road and there's like a little parking area, like a little gravel parking area with rose bushes around it, and then you just walk up to the Guidestone. They're right off the freeway. It's strange. I've never understood that.
I had no desire to ever go. I lived in Cornwall for 15 years and I never went to Stonehenge once. I drove past it nearly every week.
But did you go to Tintagel?
Oh, that's spooky. There's a secret. Annie's just been.
Hey, James too, just fucking remiss with the synchro bells tonight.
She's just been. I never went, and it looks gorgeous. But I'll let Anya tell you, it is amazing.
Energies are there, like just off the grid. It was just amazing, like really amazing. I felt charged like a Duracell battery.
Well, you should go to the Glastonbury Tor. The Glastonbury Tor is unreal because when you get up to the top, it's crazy. Yeah, Glastonbury Tor, and the Abbey is weird too.
Is that on your next trip, Anya?
I've been to Glastonbury Tor.
Yeah.
I've been.
Yeah, I lived in England. I drove around.
You've been to the Orville Abbey?
Have I been to where?
The Orville Abbey in Belgium.
In Glastonbury.
That's in Belgium, I said.
Yeah, it's a
I've been to High Wycombe.
Monastery.
I've been to High Wycombe where the Hellfire Caves are. I actually used to when I went into London, I took the Chiltern line and it went right through High Wycombe. So I went right past the Hellfire Caves probably 100 times. So.
I just love I've been there already, but I always have to go back there. So, of course,
Well, you know what blew my mind? Another thing that blew my mind, and I used to see this when we drive into Birmingham up the M40, is you'll be driving along, and you kind of become numb to it after a while. But you're driving along, and it's like, oh, there's a castle. Oh, there's a castle. Oh, there's a castle. And then it's like, oh, there's a weird obelisk sitting in the middle of a field surrounded by sheep.
Yeah, the cuckoo stones. Have you seen the cuckoo stones?
No, I haven't seen that.
So I was just listening to this guy talking about obelisks and what they're really for, which is kind of weird. He was also talking about castles in Scotland and England, how they were like, before the cannon was invented, they were strongholds. They kept things out, and they could do whatever you want. the obelisks were somehow connected to their ancestors. I forget exactly what he said. It's basically a power thing. It sucks in energy.
Like a Leyland thing.
Yeah, they bring in energy to power your magic, your operations.
Yeah,
whatever.
I believe that.
Yeah.
There's one in particular on the M40, and it's enormous. It's probably 2 stories or 3 stories tall, and it's in the middle of a field, and literally it's surrounded by sheep. And you're driving along, it sticks out like a sore thumb. It's really bizarre.
There's lots of sheep here.
It's all bizarre.
Oh, yeah.
Have you been to Woodhenge?
Is this real life even?
No. No, I haven't been to Woodhenge. I should have tried. I went to the Cheddar Gorge.
There before Stonehenge, right?
Cheddar Gorge, yeah.
Oh, Cheddar Gorge is a trip. That place is crazy. So, in England, right? Well, the English person, but in England, there's a lot of Roman aqueducts that still exist from when the Romans occupied it. And in the Cheddar Gorge, there's a aqueduct that runs across it. It's a fairly large gorge.
What about Hadrian's Wall?
The aqueduct, above the aqueduct, they actually put in a like a water channel for those I forget what they call them, but the boats, they're like river boats. And so these people will be moving one of these, they're kind of like RVs on the water. And so what they have to do is that when they're going through the Cheddar Gorge canal boats, they have a canal up there that's about 300 or 400 feet off the ground. And so you'll be standing there watching these guys pulling, with ropes, pulling these canal boats through this canal. And they're like 300 feet, 400 feet in the air. It's crazy. It's really, really weird.
Did you ever go to Bath?
Bath? Yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice there. I love Bath.
Bath is beautiful. I actually know a guy from Bath. He does propaganda. He has a PhD, and his dissertation was on propaganda. He's fun to talk to.
It's a nice place. And Cornwall, I lived there. I think if I went anywhere else in the UK to live, it would be Cornwall. But I don't think I would go back.
Does he do propaganda for the government?
No, he analyzes and studies propaganda. Mm-hmm. So he's a professor, and he specializes in the analysis of propaganda.
Very nice.
Yeah, he's an interesting dude.
Cool, very cool.
And he's an amateur comic.
Great combo.
He does, like, stand-up.
Yeah. So he completely understands NLP, and he gets up and makes people laugh. That's not too dangerous.
No, not too dangerous at all.
Yes, Trish is our special guest, everyone, and Olav.
I'm joking.
Of course, I'm reading the chat.
I'm the special guest.
I wanted to say hello to everyone who's joining us, and especially to Sass, who's reading porn. Where I missed it. She's reading weird porn and listening to this. So I just wanted to say, shout out to Sass and Titties and Ass. So,
whatever floats your boat.
Amanda wants
a conspiracy porn, though. That's the thing. Is it conspiracy porn?
Knowing her, it's probably like demonic tentacle porn.
Tentacle porn.
Like hentai.
What the hell is that?
That was hentai.
Hentai, yeah.
Hentai, yeah.
Amanda,
don't ask me how I know that's tentacle porn and hentai.
Because you masturbate to it too. We get it. So, Amanda,
this just deteriorated quickly.
No, it never came back out of there.
It normally
you're out of my knowledge zone.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't need to understand something to make jokes about it.
That's not that thing where they get tied up, is it?
No, that's other stuff.
No,
that's like an add-on to the scene, you know.
Have you seen that stuff where is it Japanese? Don't quote me. Where they're bound and tied up, but it's not. It's all with these special knots and everything.
It's shibari. It's called shibari. It's a rope. It's Japanese rope tying technique.
I can't remember what it's called, but I've seen some.
It's called shibari or shibari.
Okay.
Shibari. Called shibari.
Yeah. It's Japanese bondage.
You learn something new every day.
I only found that out because somebody I knew was into it.
Greatest Potential says, "Go on." He just gets excited here.
It doesn't like. I don't find it arousing, but it's interesting to look at because it's an art form too. It's like art combined with sex. And
I thought that it was more artistic than anything else.
It really is. You know, the Japanese are like that. Look at sushi, for Christ's sakes. It's got to be perfectly arranged for you. You know, the presentation. It's all about the presentation with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then textures next. But anyway, I digress.
You know, when I was in Japan, I made a boo-boo. So my friend, I have a friend, he's Japanese, and we went to Japan to visit him. And he took us to we were near Miyajima, which is this like sacred island. And it's pretty much like a temple island. The whole island is a temple, and they have these miniature deer, and it's beautiful. And there's a beautiful torii gate and all that stuff. Well, he went. He had some extra money, so he took us to this restaurant, and I could barely fit through the door because I'm 6'3", so I'm not fitting through the door well because the door is made for somebody who's like 4'5". So I finally get in there and I sit down, and we're sitting around, and pretty much the only thing that they made is eel. It's just you could have eel in like 4 different ways. So the menu was like eel 4 different ways, and then that's pretty much it. Okay, so I sit down and I order my eel. I had him ordered for me because they didn't speak English, so I order my barbecued eel, and they're like, okay, what would you like to drink? And so, you know, you can have sake or beer or water or whatever. And I'm like, well, can I have a Coke? And so my friend leans over to me and he says, you're not understanding. I said, what am I not understanding? He says, this restaurant's been here for like 400 years. And they literally for 400 years have only made eel. That's all they make, 4 ways. And they're like world famous for their eel. This place doesn't have Coke. You can have water, sake, or beer.
Or eel.
It's pretty funny.
That's funny.
They kept it alive.
Hey man, unagi is the best.
It is. It's pretty good.
It's my favorite. One of my favorite. I love scallops and unagi.
I can't eat scallops, so.
when I was working out in San Francisco, I went to a sushi place that went out and caught their scallops that day, and they were still live when they served them.
I actually had what did I have? I had oh god, it's a shellfish before I was allergic. It's big. It's like a big shell, but it's not a clam.
It's not uni, is it?
Oyster?
No, it's not oysters.
Does it look like a shell oil sign, but white?
It's very color. The shell inside is very colorful. It's like a rainbow.
Mussels.
I know. It's
you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Well, I had one of those, and it was still alive. It was still moving when
abalone.
Abalone, that's it.
Yeah,
I had abalone.
Uni. Yeah.
Oh, uni. Well, I can't eat it, so I always forget.
Actually, uni is
I had abalone.
Just a row.
I had abalone, and it was fresh, and it was still twitching when I ate it.
Oh,
yeah, that was like the scallop I had. I loved it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And it tastes like.
And then I got allergic.
Yeah, it doesn't taste gross. You'd think it's gross because it's moving, but you know, you're exerting your dominance on it by eating it.
But then, not long after that, I became allergic to shellfish, so then I couldn't eat it anymore.
That blows.
Same.
You're not missing much.
It does. It does. My favorite sushi is ama ebi. But I eat it.
Raw shrimp.
That happened to me when I was like 25. All of a sudden, like, fuck, can't eat it anymore. It like my face exploded, everything. Lips. It was like, yeah, it was insane. It was the weirdest thing ever.
Like a pufferfish.
And actually,
pufferfish.
Yeah, man. My mouth, my side of my face, just irritation, everything, man. Yeah,
it's quite scary when that happened.
Dude, I could taste like since it was from the sea, I could taste like every grain of sand. It was like the worst fucking thing ever.
Remember that Will Ferrell movie? It was called Twitch or Pitch or Stitch. I forget what it's called. But he had the anaphylactic shock from eating shrimp, and his face blew up like really big.
Dude, it was weird.
Well, you develop allergies every 7 years, right?
That probably, it's probably something like that. I noticed
system changes.
I noticed a little bit like that. Like I noticed the sand thing. Like I'd be at like a fish restaurant or something. You know, like
see that's why like as I'm getting older, like all the foods I ate, because I don't have any allergic reactions to anything, but I eat a little bit first just to make sure. I'm starting to develop an allergy to it.
Pussy.
Just shove it in your mouth,
the last shellfish I ever ate in my life. Right. Well, I tried freshwater shrimp once, but the last shellfish I ever actually like ordered and sat down and ate, I was in Boston and I had a lobster. And it was about the best lobster I've ever had in my whole life. And then I went back to the hotel and it was a bad scene. And that's when I found out that I was allergic. But the last actual shellfish meal I had was lobster in Boston, which is a pretty good way to go out.
Do you ever eat illegal seafood out there? Right. Ever heard of this restaurant chain called Legal Seafood?
I have.
Good place. I ate there in Boston. That's why I asked.
I think that's where I ate, actually.
I thought so.
It's right on the water.
Yep.
Yeah. And then the night before, I went to a place that had 2 Michelin stars. And I ordered a Coke. You should have seen the maitre d'. He was like wigging out. I ordered a Coke at a Michelin star restaurant.
That's
I was like, hey, I don't care. It is.
Especially
I had to wear a tie. It was really gross. I was like, no,
dude, that's
I'm doing
like
this again.
soul crushing.
And if you ask for sauce or something, that bin and salt.
Ketchup.
Ketchup.
Listen to this. You want to talk about pretentious restaurants? I ate at Bobby Flay's place out in Vegas 10 years ago. I forgot what it was called. But they would not give you salt and pepper.
That was the other. I was going to say salt, pepper, because it should be in food already.
You know, Chef Flay has seasoned this properly, or you know, whatever the shit they trying to sell me. I'm like, dude, I want some salt.
Yeah, you didn't salt them with that.
I ate at all the Gordon Ramsay ones in Vegas.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it was good.
My parents dragged me through all of Emeril Lagasse's I had to go to.
No, I do the Gordon Ramsay thing.
He's a good cook.
He is a really good cook. Just sometimes a terrible human being.
He's a bit of an asshole, yeah.
But is he really, or is that his persona? Is that even real, or is that just what you see on TV?
No, that's real. He's an asshole. Most of the chefs are. I've known people who worked in the culinary industry. Most of those guys are just utter incomplete assholes, but they can cook.
I would love to see him on like Iron Chef with Anthony Bourdain before he died.
He was an ex-soccer player, wasn't he?
David Icke.
Gordon Ramsay.
He used to play
David Icke.
He was.
Icke was.
Yeah.
So was Rod Stewart. Yeah, actually, David Icke. Yeah, he was a professional soccer player, and then he got hurt, I think. And then he was he was like a sports presenter, like an announcer, presenter on the TV. And then one day he woke up and thought he was God.
Yeah, he was a commentator, I think, or
presenter. He was a presenter. He woke up after like some kind of marijuana trip, allegedly, and talked to the alien.
Yeah, and they told him he was God or something. He started walking around in linen suits and things. And
he totally misunderstood what they were saying.
Do you think he has a point, though, with some of the things he talks about?
Oh, yeah. I think he definitely has a point about some of the things, especially around the some of his ideas around the Matrix concept. And I think he definitely has some things that are very interesting. I think he just, at this point, he's just gone so far off the wagon that nobody will ever take him seriously. But he definitely, it's, what it is that you see this a lot in ufology and in the conspiracy world, is that somebody will start out, right, and they'll have a valid point and they'll make good sense. The problem is that, or maybe they had an experience or whatever, but the problem is that they become famous, either kind of famous within the conspiracy world or big time famous, like Icke, right? Everybody knows who Icke is. And then your income, you start to get income from it. And then the income starts to die down after a while because people know your shtick, right? So what happens is these guys are constantly one-upping themselves. So they have to add more fuel to the fire. They have to, double down and make whatever analogy you want to make the story more interesting.
Blue avians. And then that's my analogy.
Yeah, blue avians. I mean, maybe he had an experience at one point. Maybe, he saw a UFO, or maybe he became knowledgeable of something. I don't know. But eventually, you get to a point now where he's ripping off Iron Sky, and it's like at that point you've gone over the edge.
Funny because he's a life path number 5, David Icke. So they need an audience, but the most extreme in temperament, the most prone to addictions. Interesting.
That's Icke.
But they need to use their voice and speak and teach using their voice. So the fact he's speaking is perfect for him. But yeah.
Well, you were talking about nuclear winter. What are your thoughts on Mars in the Xenon 129 in the atmosphere found?
That's, Brandenburg talks a lot about that there seems to be a fair amount of evidence that there was some sort of a nuclear, like a nuclear war, like 1 million years ago or something. I forget. He actually calculated it out.
Yeah, they found glass. Yeah, I mean,
Brandenburg makes a very compelling argument that there was some sort of a nuclear exchange. I talked to him when I spoke at the Secret Space Conference. And, I talked to him about it. I mean, it doesn't come across as kooky. When you're sitting across the table having a taco and he's telling you about it, it doesn't come across as kooky at all. I think more people should pay attention to it. I think that and him and LaViolette, they seem to get pushed to the side, but I think Paul LaViolette has made a lot of very interesting, discoveries. I think that people should pay more attention to Paul LaViolette as well. His problem, though, is that what he's trying to articulate, the way he tries to articulate it is too convoluted for most people to understand. I remember I listened to a interview with LaViolette and Art Bell back in the day, and Art Bell actually stopped him at one point. He's like, "I have no idea what you're saying." And LaViolette got frustrated. He's like, but I'm telling you why, pulsars are communication beacons and all this other stuff. And Art Bell's like, but I'm just not getting it. It's just too complicated because, he's giving you math and all this other stuff. He's trying to explain mathematically what a gravitational lens is. For most people, just tell them it's a gravity lens and explain the basics of how it works. And you're sucking energy off of a star and all this other stuff to power these basically like navigation beacons. And it's like, but he goes off the edge and just goes right down the rabbit hole with all this math, and nobody can understand them. But LaViolette's got what is it? The Messengers of the Galaxy or something, I think the book is. It's really good.
I like that. I really like that stuff he talks about, how the beacons. Is he the one that talks about different they emit different patterns at different times, like on a cycle?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the distribution, that they become more dense. They become more dense toward the galactic core.
Mm-hmm.
And that the speed of the pulsars changes around certain astronomical entities, like various nebula. That there will be a beacon that actually rotates faster around some of those.
It's like a giant clockwork.
Yeah, and he actually did some work to try to figure out, the actual pattern of the distribution, which I thought was interesting. The problem that he has, like Basiago and a bunch of other people, is that they take the research, the good research that they've done, right, and then they make a prognostication. So in the case of LaViolette, he became obsessed with the idea that there's this like gravity superwave that's coming from the galactic center, right? And he said, he would go on and say, okay, well, all these things are indicating that the super wave is coming. And people, of course, they want a date. They say, well, when's the super wave going to get here and fry everything? Oh, well, it's going to come, in X number of years. Well, X number of years rolls by and there's no galactic super wave. And then you start to lose credibility. It's kind of like Basiago when he said, oh, yeah, I'm going to get elected president. And it's like, okay, well, we have Don Trump is our president, not Andrew Basiago.
Don with two ends.
You know,
Don with two ends.
Huh?
Don with two ends.
Right, Don with two ends. Yeah, Don with two ends. We got to make it space age. But you know, he made a prognostication that he was going to be elected president, and that's a very dangerous kind of prognostication to make, because when it doesn't come true, everybody turns around and says, okay, well, you said you're going to be president, why aren't you president?
That doesn't matter.
Or all these guys that say, well, disclosure's imminent, disclosure's imminent, disclosure's imminent. Well, where is it? You know, for
the Illuminati
years,
kept him out from being elected. That's what happened.
Sure. Okay. But, you know, again, with the disclosure stuff, you know, you get these guys, we're so close on the disclosure clock, where I used to, you know, I love Richard Hoagland to death. I just love his stuff. But, you know, he'd come on and say, well, this TV show indicates that we're going to, disclosure's imminent. It's like, okay, no disclosure. Got it. Check. I don't make prognostications. You just can't. Everybody, you know, when I do the alternative three thing, everybody at the end, because the end game of alternative three was the apocalypse, effectively. And everybody asks me, well, when's it coming? When's it coming? And I tell them, I don't know. Because I don't. And they say, well, is it going to be ecological, or is it going to be nuclear, or is it going to be this, or asteroids, or whatever? And I tell them, I say, you know, in the show, it was about having an ecological collapse, that overpopulation, rampant overproduction, you know, peak oil, all that stuff contributed. And we had a global ecological collapse that brought on an ice age. I said, now, I don't know if that's what's going to happen. That's what the show said. I mean, it could be an asteroid. And I always send people email me, and I'll email back a link to the thing with Neil deGrasse Tyson, where he talks about Apophis. And the line that I always use is, I say, look, Neil deGrasse Tyson talks about Apophis, this asteroid that's supposed to hit the Earth. And his famous line is, well, they called it Apophis, the god of the god of death. They didn't call it Bambi. So, you know, that's how I do it. But other people, they make prognostications. You make prognostications, they better come true, you know.
But I mean, a nuclear war on Mars, wouldn't that indicate like some type of type 3 or type 4 civilization that would exist?
No, because I think to get that high, you have to. I don't think it necessarily indicates that it's like type 3 or type 4. I think you have to be like a type 2 to actually harness the atom. But I'm rusty, so I could be wrong. But it would only indicate that they have the ability to harness the atom. It doesn't mean that they had any kind of interesting, spacefaring capabilities or anything else. It just means that they harness the atom well enough to blow themselves up.
Okay, so you're leaning on they blew themselves up versus an external force.
Oh yeah,
coming in and
no, I think they blew them. If it's true, I think they blew themselves up. And then again, you can go back to the exploding planet hypothesis as well, right? That there was a planet that exploded. Maybe it was all chained together around the same time, you know. But I definitely, everything that I've ever seen that came out of Brandenburg seemed to indicate that it was some sort of massive nuclear war, which would be consistent with what you see on the planet Mars, which is not a whole lot of anything in a very, very thin atmosphere.
They found the fused glass stuff out in the desert. I think it was the Serengeti or Sahara. I don't remember where. But that would also coincide with the Vedas, right? Right, near India. In the desert,
yeah.
So they found the fused glass, which would coincide with the Vedic writings of the time, of the wars in the sky and all that.
Well, actually, I wrote a chapter for one of Tim Beckley's books called "The Ark of the Covenant and Others Ancient Weaponry," and in that I actually hypothesized that although they found fused glass, the location where that nuclear war was supposed to have taken place. They've gone back several times, and the radiation readings from there are just like anywhere else. It's just normal kind of background radiation. So what I hypothesize is they actually use kinetic energy weapons, because the description in the Bhagavad Gita it talks about this thing coming out of the sky and created a pillar of fire with all the power of the universe, right? Most people take that to be a nuclear detonation. But if you use a kinetic energy weapon and you fire it from orbit, right, when it's streaking down, it would be incredibly bright and on fire. In fact, sorry, it's kind of windy here. In fact, the Project Thor rods from God, they actually put a shell around the tungsten rods so that when it went through the atmosphere, the outer shell would heat up and create a plasma. And then when it hit, the outer shell would crack and break apart and create a fireball. So it seemed to be very consistent. And then I went one step further and hypothesized that the Black Knight satellite could have actually been a spent munitions platform that actually fired it. And there you go.
Did they find glass in Egypt too, next to the pyramids?
Excuse me?
Didn't they find that glass too next to the pyramids in the desert?
That I don't know.
Hey, Grim, I just remembered the part. Remember I said there was a part of People of Earth that I couldn't remember? That was like the real thing, like what people talk about as conspiracy. So the spaceship gets taken over by another company. They do a merger. New companies run it. They send a new boss, which is a cube with like a HAL I from 2001. And it's a little tiny cube that floats around. And the cube mind controls one of the people on from Earth. And it basically tells him, he's like, when can I see you again? And the eye tells him with the box, you can always, I'm always with you. I'm hiding behind the moon. That was it. So you're muted, Grim.
No, dude, yeah, that's like right where I left off because I just started watching the third and last season, or was it season 2?
It was season 2. That's all there is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
What is this?
It's a TV show called People of Earth.
Okay, I have to watch this.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
If you want a great UFO movie, that's really fantastic. In England, it was called Project Genocide. I think what's it called in America? I forget now.
Day?
Baywatch.
No.
Baywatch.
But it's got like it's got an all-star cast. It's crazy. Like Robert Vaughn is in it. Christopher, the horror guy. Christopher Lee is in it, and basically the Draconian people have a UFO, and then they abduct this guy, and then one of the Draconian women has sex with him, and then they mind control him, and then they fly to the Bermuda Triangle, and then they land at a pyramid under the Bermuda Triangle and hang out with these like the kind of gray-esque kind of people, and there's like all the robots from all the UFO books are in there. And then they go up into orbit, and then they broadcast this beam down, which makes everybody like suicidal and homicidal. It's pretty good. It's actually not bad.
Starship Invasions, 1977.
Starship Invasion. Yeah, that's it.
Was Robert Vaughn a Draco reptilian?
No, Christopher Lee is. Robert Vaughn is a UFO researcher. He's very J. Allen Hynek-y. It's pretty good.
Glasses and everything, right?
No glasses, I don't think.
Okay.
But it's been a while.
I'm going to download. What was it called? Starship
Another
Illusions?
one is Starship Invasions. And then another one is called Mission Kill. That has Leslie Nielsen in it. And the guy who played Frank Poole in 2001.
Keir Delay?
Gary Lockwood.
Gary Lockwood.
And they... Leslie Nielsen and Gary Lockwood run a CIA-funded mind control facility in the Philippines where they're creating like mind-controlled assassins.
Mm-hmm.
And then Leslie Nielsen falls in love with Joan Chen, and then they try to escape, and then Gary Lockwood goes after them. And then there's another one called The Flying Saucer from the 50s where this UFO crashed in China, and the Americans, the CIA sends a guy out to go retrieve it, The Soviets sent out a KGB guy, and this CIA guy and the KGB guy worked together to confuse the Chinese secret agent and then to steal the UFO. That one's pretty good too. I think that one's a flying saucer. I have more.
Let's put out the whole list.
Telephone. Have you guys ever seen Telephone?
No.
With Charles Bronson and Donald Pleasant. Oh, Telephone's fantastic. Telephone's fantastic. It's actually pretty good. Basically, the Soviets had a mind control program where they put in all these deep cover agents, right? And they brainwashed them to be basically human bombs. And then they gave them American cover identities. And then this guy, there's a shakeup at the KGB, and this guy steals a notebook that has all the trigger words for all the agents, and so he starts calling them up to activate them, and they start blowing stuff up. The problem is the stuff they're blowing up is like 10 years old, so 10 or 15 years old. So it's, they're decommissioned military bases, or one had been turned into one was like a cement factory. But Charles Bronson's a KGB colonel, and he has to go in with Lee Remick. Actually, he and Lee Remick have to go try to stop him. And then at the end, they go off the farm and do their own thing. It's pretty good. It's called Telephone. I like that one.
I'm looking for links.
And there's another one. There was a TV show that was on AMC. The name escapes me right now. It was on for one season.
How far back do you think?
A couple years. It was about a bunch of analysts that worked for like an independent contractor, and the guy's boss killed himself. What was it?
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, it was only on for one season. And the guy who wrote it, his dad was actually a CIA field officer. The name of it. But that one, I think they canceled it because it actually was too close to the truth. The way that they were sending the messages buried in like help wanted ads and stuff.
I was just going to ask that. I've noticed this trend on shows that I find interesting that seem to be perhaps accurately describing what's going on. Only last one season. It's really weird.
Yeah, it's very odd. This one, it came out. It had really great ratings. It actually had good ratings, and they canceled it anyway. And then the guy who wrote it actually went on to he did Homeland after that. I forget the name of it though.
Can you remember anyone who was in it?
No, their names escape me right now, but it was on AMC. It was on like before Mad Men. What's the name of that show? I even wrote an article about it. I cannot remember the name of it. It was really good, and it turned out what it turned out is these analysts who were very good. They were basically effectively reading the future, right? That was their job, was to do predictive analysis. And they were figuring out wars and things before they would happen, and the information was taken back to a cabal Rubicon? Of like Rubicon. That's it. Yeah, Rubicon. And at the very end, it turned out that they were taking the information back to like a cabal of all these guys that had all gone to university together, very skull and bonesy, and they were using that to actually trigger some of the stuff.
I remember this show.
Because they already knew Rubicon.
I think I only watched the first episode though.
Yeah, it gets more interesting as time goes on.
was 2010.
Oh, I love that show. I was so mad when it went off the air.
Wonder if it's on Amazon Prime or something.
So it was on Amazon and then it disappeared. And on Amazon, I only have the first episode on Amazon because I bought it.
What was it called? Rubicon?
Rubicon.
Never seen it.
Oh, you should watch it. It's kind of like
it looks like it's on. It looks like it's on
AMC.
Looks like it's on Amazon right now.
Oh, that's great. Then you should watch it.
Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I've got that.
Yeah, so if you got Prime, you can watch it.
It's kind of like 3 Days of the Condor with Robert Redford, if you ever watched
Condor, yeah, dude.
It's dreamy.
Reminds me a bit of Residue.
I don't know that one.
Was that on Netflix or Amazon? Is that the lady
Amazon,
who's filming the ghosts? Like the thing, she was basically filming attachments of people who were dying, who were killing themselves a few days later. She would take pictures of them and then she would see like their demonic attachment in the photo.
Oh, wow.
Was that show, Anya?
Yeah, and there was an explosion in a town.
Yeah, right.
And,
that's when it started.
Field, by military, and she's trying to get in what's happening because she starts seeing that too.
But there's something weird happening. I forget what it is right now, but there's an alliance between the beings, the entities that are coming out of that hole, and the military.
Yeah, out of the wall. They come like out of the wall.
Yeah, I gotta watch it again. I forget, but it's like only half done this season, right?
Yeah, there is a movie to it as well that must have come. That was out with the show, so I have to look into that. I started watching the show, but it's probably too real.
Sorry, I didn't.
Well, definitely watch. Definitely watch Rubicon, because Rubicon is real. It's. Okay. I think that's why it was canceled, because it was shocking. Everybody was like, "Whoa, you canceled that," because it actually had decent ratings.
Right.
But I think somebody got mad. Another great show that's on YouTube that you can watch is Project UFO.
Impulse 2 is pretty decent.
Well, Project UFO, that was Gary Webb, the guy, Gary Webb. It was the guy who did Dragnet. Mm-hmm. And basically what they did is they took a bunch of Project Blue Book stories. There's 2 seasons, and they took a bunch of Project Blue Book sightings, and they actually dramatized them. And they had these two Air Force guys that were part of Blue Book that would actually go out and investigate it. And oddly, they had a lot of cooperation from the Air Force. It was actually somewhat sanctioned. So that one's pretty interesting to watch too.
Impulse, was it the one with the electricity going weird?
No, it was the girl who finds out she can teleport. It's kind of like Looper or Jumper.
Okay.
Loopy Jumper. Jumper.
Loopy Jumper.
I can't remember now.
It's Jumper.
Thank you. With Anakin, right?
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So she does shit like that where like she implodes the space she's in, so anything near it kind of gets snatched.
My publishing company, we actually published a guide to like cryptozoology movies, but I haven't finished the conspiracy one.
What is that?
We have like the top 50 movies. Yeah, all the Bigfoot movies.
That's a birdies here.
Like Harry and the Hendersons? Is that in the top 5?
No. Definitely not in my top 5.
Shocking. Are there other Bigfoot movies?
There are a lot. Yeah.
That's the only one I know.
There's one from the 70s that has one of the Carradines in it. The old man Carradine.
Yes. It's funny because this is another synchro. Like I've been seeing a lot of my my filmmaker friends talk about all these Bigfoot movies they're binge watching recently.
Well, you know what it is that like it comes in waves. So what you'll see is that like ghosts will be really hot for a couple of years and then it'll die out. And then it'll be psychics for a while and then it'll die out. And then it'll be conspiracies for a while and then it'll die out, and then UFOs. And we're actually on the cryptozoology one right now. So everybody wants to talk about big.
Yeah, that makes sense. It seems.
And then it burns out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll burn out, and then it'll be UFOs or something. Probably UFOs.
That's why I'm just in the consciousness. Consciousness.
It's strange.
Yeah.
The other thing that's interesting is I used to help with the radio show, and one of the things that we recognized with the radio show is that people's interests in various topics were very seasonal. So, like in the fall, they wanted to talk about the occult. In the winter, it was more like conspiracies. In the spring, it was more like UFOs. And then in the summer, it was all about cryptozoology. So you'd actually pattern in radio.
No, for cryptozoology, what was the dates again?
Summer. Because people are out camping.
Yeah, because there's actually a Crypticon that we're actually going to this summer.
Yes, we are.
And it's $140 for a Bigfoot expedition.
Dude, this is so ridiculous.
I'm gonna go knock on some trees.
$140 to get some Palm Island Lyme disease.
Yeah, you can get a free ticket, probably, right?
Wait, is it outdoors?
Well, they're not going to do it in like
I'm not going ever. I'm not going.
No, the convention's is in the hotel. The other stuff's outside.
The convention's in a forest.
Yeah.
All right. If you were an interdimensional being that came here to like hunt and what shit, would you want to be hassled every time by people knocking on wood and hooting? Maybe they just come here to take a shit.
Well, there's actually a Bigfoot museum south of me in a place called Felton. And when you go out there, they actually have it's basically in a shed. And it takes you about 10 seconds to go through the Bigfoot museum. But out in the back, they have a bunch of dioramas and stuff.
Little plaster foot. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I have a plaster Bigfoot cast. I bought it there.
That's
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely. But yeah, and inside the museum, pretty much what he's done is collected about everything you could possibly find with Bigfoot in it. So, he's running, he had an episode of Scooby-Doo where they were chasing Bigfoot on a loop, and he has lunch boxes and magazines and about everything you can imagine. It's pretty cool. It's a real nice roadside attraction.
Yeah, I mean, I'm convinced Bigfoot is either a topa or a interdimensional entity.
Well, I'll tell you, when I saw Bigfoot, it was not a tulpa. It was too far. But when I saw it, it was an honest to God thing.
Oh, you actually saw one?
Yeah, I saw two of them climb up the side of a mountain. Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
Where did you see it, Olav?
I saw it a couple of years ago. I went to E-SETI, the James Gilliland Ranch, and during the day, there at night it's crazy, but during the day, there's nothing to do. So you're basically in a big field, and me and a couple other guys, we were sitting at a picnic table, and I think I was playing Tetris, and the guy next to me was Larry Overman, the guy from the show Ghost Mine. He was sitting next to me, and he goes, Olaf, you got to see this. And I'm like, no, I'm playing Tetris. Leave me alone. He goes, no, you got to see this. I'm like, what? And then I turned around, and there were these two things about the size of big ants to me, climbing up the side of Mount Adams. And they were so big that you could actually see their gait. And my friend, Chris, who's also an engineer, who's a little better at math than I am, he actually did the geometry to figure out the size that they would have been, given we knew what our distance was to the mountain, and we could compute the the altitude that they were at, because they were in a snowfield above the tree line, and he figured that they were about 10 or 11 feet tall.
Wow.
And yeah, we watched him for over an hour climb up the side of a near vertical snowfield. It was pretty crazy. They weren't people. That I can guarantee you.
Could
they
be robots?
I've climbed some really steep mountains. I don't think.
No.
I don't think that would be possible for humans.
Yeah, that place is absurd. Like at night, it's just absurd the amount of stuff you see. I mean, there was like a hangar door that opened on the side of the mountain. I saw a blue-green vortex open in midair that looked like a Stargate. I saw, all sorts of exotic aircraft. I saw a Aurora with a false detonation engine.
No way.
I mean, it's just it's absurd. I've seen the Aurora twice. Once in the desert in Nevada, and I saw once at Gilliland's ranch.
So what is it about his ranch that allows you to see these things? It seems to me there's like go ahead.
It depends on who you ask, right? If you ask somebody who's more metaphysical, they'll tell you that it's because of it's because it's a conjunction of this or that.
Yeah, energy vortex.
In reality, what I maybe that's true, and I'm open-minded. Mm-hmm. I do believe in, obviously, I like Lemuria, so there's some metaphysics involved in my lifestyle. But from a nuts and bolts point of view, I think that he's on a very good spot, and I think that there's a flight path from Nellis and Area 51 and Palmdale and all these other desert bases to the Arctic. And I think that because they fly in the same path pretty much the whole time. That you can pretty much just look in one spot and you'll just see them keep flying over. I think that he's in a flight path.
So, okay, but even outside of his ranch, nobody ever reports this stuff. I think there's something. So, okay, let's say it is an energy vortex, right? And maybe when you're in the middle of that vortex, you're able to see these crafts. Or you're more, I don't know. You can see them. Just say like it's an infrared filter of some type.
Is this the one that Bigelow owns now?
No.
Oh, that's the other place.
That's Skinwalker. That's different.
Skinwalker, yeah.
But you have to remember what you're seeing when you go there, right? That you see like weird lights, bouncing around the mountain, and there's some weird stuff that you see on the mountain. But a lot of the UFOs that you see are very high altitude. So you're seeing, to you, I mean, these things are flying at 80,000, 90,000 feet. So to you, they're very small. Right.
What about the stuff coming out of the mountain? That's what I'm talking about per se. Mostly.
The stuff coming out of the mountain, who knows?
Right. If you were 2 miles away from Gilliland's ranch with binoculars when that happened, and you were inside on his ranch, would both people see the same thing?
I would imagine that they would.
So there's nothing special other than you got a good view from there.
I would imagine that's true, and the it's about angles, right? That I think that he's in a particularly good spot to see the entire mountain, and I think a lot of the other people, there's a lot of forest land there and a lot of farmland there. And I think a lot of people are at the wrong angle, so they wouldn't necessarily see it. But it could be something, like a vortex or something else. But to me, I think it's just because he's got a particularly good spot. But I'm very nuts and bolts, and it makes me somewhat unpopular at times in various company, because I try to use what's called Occam's razor, which is basically the simplest answer is probably the right one. And for me, given that 90% of what you see is the exotic aircraft, and they're flying in the same pattern, in the same place,
I would say 100% of them are.
Has he done any type of ground penetrating radar on that property?
No, he hasn't. He won't.
No, he won't.
Have you noticed anything in Avebury? Because that's a spot where UFOs were seen, and also there's supposed to be a secret military base.
Oh, I've never actually been to Avebury. I only went to Stonehenge, and I was there during the day. So yeah. Well, I was trying to get to whatchamacallit. I was trying to get to Glastonbury.
What's wrong with you?
I was trying to get to Glastonbury. It was on the way. I was like, "Hey, we're driving past Stonehenge. Let's go." You know? I'm a terrible researcher. I know. I had a hell of a time in Rosslyn. I had haggis there.
Did you go to Glastonbury Festival or just the place?
Just the place.
Oh, no, that's even outside of Glastonbury.
Is that where they have that crazy metal fest there?
Yeah.
You could call it that.
Yeah, dude, sign me up. I would love to go to that.
It's like totally outside of the actual Glastonbury and has nothing to do with Glastonbury.
It's in a farmer's field in that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fields.
Yeah. It's very iconic though. I've never been myself.
It's extremely iconic.
Yeah.
Synchros. Anybody got more synchros?
I can think of a lot of...
Sure, I got one for you.
Sorry, go on.
This is something I just recently looked at on my Steam profile to play, Counter-Strike and stuff like that. So the numbers I constantly see are 11s. I was born on the 11th day of the month, and I noticed that on my Steam profile, I signed up on Steam on 11/11/2003. November 11, 2003. I just thought that was interesting.
What time?
What a noob.
I don't know. I was in a land center in Texas at Air Force Base, Schriever.
Nobody shot that place up, right?
Not Schriever. What's the?
Schriever's in Colorado.
Yeah, that's outside of Wichita Falls.
Do you remember when they had that active shooter down at that?
Shepherd, thank you.
My dad was stationed at Shepherd.
Yeah, I was at Shepherd Air Force Base.
Do you remember when they had that active shooter down there in Texas?
What's that?
That active shooter? I forget the guy's name. Some dude went crazy on the base and was carrying around air. Or M16.
Oh yeah, that was the psychologist.
Yeah, and I heard
an army psychologist.
He had a tattoo on his arm that said something weird. I gotta remember what it said.
Yeah, I don't remember that part.
What do you remember? What base was that?
I think that was Fort Hood.
Yeah, Fort Hood shooter.
He was in the army.
Yeah, it was some kind of something. Ooh, thunder.
I think he was a major.
Yeah, he was a major. But for me, I was actually born in Wiesbaden, in Germany.
Yeah, you speak German?
Well, Anya's from Germany.
I can read German, but I left Wiesbaden when I was 24 hours old. I was on an aeronautical evac flight to Italy, so I grew up in Italy.
Literally 25.
It's what?
I grew up in southern Italy, so sorry.
I'm half Italian.
Anya's from Germany, but I can't remember where. Is it Düsseldorf? No, I could be wrong. I should know.
I've been all over Germany. Yeah, I've been all over Germany, but I've never. But I didn't live there, so I didn't speak it. I spoke Italian.
Cool.
Sono Italiano.
Yeah.
Sono Italiano.
I don't speak it very well anymore.
No, me neither.
So I can read German. Duolingo.
I had a crazy grandmother who kind of mixed up Yiddish and Italian. So she'd be like, "You're giving me agita, you stupid guinea bastard." So that was crazy.
Yeah, when I was in Germany, it was interesting to see the how you went to these little small mom and pop restaurants and how every single place you went to had its own brewery in the back. And on the glasses, they have a fill line where they have to, by German law, they have to fill the beer to that line, and the head has to be above that line. So when you order a beer, it takes a little bit longer to get it, but they have to pour it a certain way into the glass.
And you only have to be like 13 to get a beer.
Because it's called beer. That's why it takes longer.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I saw a 10-year-old drinking a beer at one establishment.
That's crazy.
I was like, is that a kid drinking a beer right there? It's pretty crazy.
Das Boot.
There is a special beer that has no alcohol. It's
It could have been it.
Beer.
Yeah, that could have been it.
It's
well, when I was a kid,
it's like a sweet beer. It's not a beer. It just looks like beer.
Okay. That's probably what I saw then.
Yeah, that's what I saw. It's pretty yummy.
When I was a kid, we drank coffee. So they had a special type of coffee that they actually gave to kids.
Yeah, it's a powder, right? It's made out of a plant.
Oh, that I don't know. I know I drank it.
Chicory coffee.
It's like the Cafe du Monde.
It's horrible.
I just know I was 5 years old drinking coffee and having horse steaks, so I don't know.
Oh, Jesus Lord.
Horse steaks.
Well,
it's a greasy meat.
So the synchro stuff, and I'll relate it to Nox Mente with dreams. What have any of you guys ever experienced like synchronicities in your dreams, like one after another, like manifesting them?
Like nested dreams?
Totally, dude. Yeah, like
we just talked about that.
Like a blast. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I just saw I'm binge watching People of Earth again, and the one dude in the show, Richard, has like one of those nested dream experiences with the reptilian. Or I forget who was in it.
My son and I both had the same dream one night. Exactly the same thing, without talking about anything before that night. We both dreamt the same thing. That was pretty.
Yeah, when you had the same dream, were you interacting with each other in the dream as well? Or was it you just in the dream independently?
No, I don't think so. I'm just trying to remember back now.
I had that once with a friend like 15 years ago. We were in Scotland on holidays, and I told her I dreamed this and this of you, and she was like, creepy, because I dreamed this and this of you. So it was like the same scenery and the same dream, and we dreamed of each other in the same dream scenario.
It's a bit like that with me and my son, but yeah, it was a bit interesting to do it the same night. Especially, we might dream similar things other nights, but the exact same night was a bit. Yeah, that's never happened before.
But do you go periods of like where you just have no dreams at all, or none that you can remember?
Not anymore. I seem to. It's very rare. I don't remember my dreams now, personally.
I can write a book about dreams.
Yeah. And they're very vivid, and some of them come true.
All right, guys. Well, my battery is dead, so I'm going to have to drop off now. But it was nice chatting with you all.
Good time.
Yeah, it was good chatting with you too.
Nice talking.
Come back anytime.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, let me know.
All right.
Every Saturday. Take care, dude.
Hey, take care.
All right, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Didn't you have another dream about me, Jerry, the other night or something?
I did. I forgot. Oh, yeah. You were talking about some guy named Damon or Eamon.
I was like, I don't know anybody called that.
I don't know why you're. It wasn't really a dream. It was one of those things where I'm watching TV and I kind of doze off for a second and see that, or I close my eyes and I see it.
It was a computer program.
I don't know anybody called that.
So you know when you're whatever you call meditating, and you drop.
I know what you mean.
You drop
You're
into
like in the twilight zone in the middle, right?
There's a twilight zone in the middle, but it's not asleep. It's just like you've disconnected to stage 1. Now it's like a man trap is what it is for your mind. You've went through one door and you got to wait there for a amount of time till the next one opens.
Yeah, I did that on Zoom the other night. But then I fell asleep completely.
Dude, that happens all.
I've done that. I've done that more than once.
I woke up and I was like,
how many times?
I'm on my own. Where is everybody? And it was like 10 o'clock in the morning in the UK, and I was asleep. I was in Grimm's room actually, but obviously he wasn't there.
She was in your room. Lucky you.
So I was wondering what was going on.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm so embarrassed.
I can't tell you how many times I've muted failed for snoring.
Well, he said he could hear me heavy breathing. And I was like, no, you couldn't. Well, I hope he couldn't.
You had on headphones turned up loud.
Imagine if I started sleep talking or something.
Phil and Bell would do that every Monday night when we play D&D. I'd have to mute him because he'd just start tearing snoring.
Well, I did that. I fell asleep on him and Suzanne. That was embarrassing. But I went in that sort of twilight zone where you can hear people speaking.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But you're sort of in that in between, but then I went completely.
But it's really, I don't know, when you're like, okay, so like if you're at a family party, I just remember being a kid and dozing off with that kind of, you could hear the voices of your family, and
yes,
it's comfortable. Yeah. It's a comfortable thing, and you just go, I'm gone.
Sometimes it startles me. Like I'll hear something that'll like kind of startle me a little bit while I'm sleeping.
I can manifest smells. Like,
that's funny you said that, James. I was just gonna say, earlier on, I was in my bedroom and I could smell bacon. At 3 o'clock this morning, I was like, who's cooking bacon at 3 o'clock this morning? And my son couldn't smell it. He was like, I can't smell anything. I was like, this is so strong. Like, where's this smell coming from?
Yeah, depending on the smell, it triggers it can trigger a memory.
Yeah, dude. Like, I'll remember, like, I don't know, it could be like my kids or something, or anybody walking through a room. Like, one that always sticks out is the He-Man characters from when I was a kid.
Oh,
like
yeah.
From the cartoon.
Skeletor.
Dude, whatever plastic they used to make that shit was god awful. And like,
oh, the smell?
Dude, the smell of those things were fucking brutal.
Yes.
And like, dude, and I mean, we played with all of them. We had all the Battle Cat, dude, all that shit. Like, the fucking Castle Grayskull. But they used some crazy import plastic or something, dude. And I can totally smell that stuff in my dreams. Just so even like G.I. Joes had a unique smell to them. They all had like whatever material they were using at the time.
I used to watch that every day after coming home from school.
I have the power.
Kira.
Well, I know one thing, like as far as like dreams, I notice when I have dreams, I feel like I am someone else in the dream other than myself.
Really?
Yeah.
Like always?
Like every single dream, yeah.
Dude, that's a weird. There's Synchro.
As if you're someone else in your dream.
Did you ever hear like noises? I mean, like that was a few weeks ago. That was so weird. I had one of these dreams. Not dreams, but I thought I was lifted off my bed, like fucking Exorcist.
Oh yeah.
I used to get that.
Whoa, yeah. That's an astral projection. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was one of the moments where I was like, no, not now. I don't want it. And I fell back in my bed and I heard this noise in my head, like a frequency, off frequency, like squeaking. I can't explain, but it sounded like a frequency that was off, so loud in my ears. And I opened my eyes and I still could hear it while I was awake. It was like getting quieter, but it was like totally weird, totally creepy.
Well, see, I've been noticing that not even in dreams. Like I'll be driving and I feel like I'm being lifted off the ground, or I'll look somewhere and I'll start to see like swirls. Like it'll feel like I'm in a dream, but I'm not.
Yeah.
And then I snap back out of it. I'm like, what?
Oh yeah,
dude. I was daydreaming, or I don't know what was going on, but it's like a weird feeling. It's
wait till you hear our new episode. We talk a lot about it towards the end of it with Preston Dennett, and
I gotta get
really. Dude, well, it'll be coming out next, but dude, we talk about he practices like every day astral projection, and he gets it. He's basically like, you always ask yourself, "Am I awake?" Like everything you're doing constantly.
So when you feel like you're levitating off your bed, that's astral projecting, is it?
I think it's part of it. Yeah. Like I find it like confusing, where the thin line of astral projection or lucid dreaming.
I used to have that a lot when my son was small. I swear I felt like I was levitating off the bed. And then it used to feel like the heartbeat was in the bed. That scared me.
Yeah, I had the same experience as Anya did, where I blew right through the bed, and I was so pumped and excited. It fucked me up, and I came out of it, but I was like super excited because that happened. I was trying to do that with a breathing technique to like get in that state of like letting go. Basically, it was weird, and then
but I wasn't trying to do it
right through. I was right through the fucking bed. And I just shot right up. I was like, "Holy f!" And it only happened like one time. And
I used to say to my ex-husband, like, "What is that? Your heart thumping through the like on the mat?" He was like, and it wasn't, and it used to scare me. I don't know what the hell it was.
I mean, if not even if I tried, but sometimes when it happens and I'm okay with it and I give in, I mean, I only get to a certain point, but I can't open my eyes. So, but if I try, it's okay, but not if I'm not willing to, and it still happens. I try to fight it, right? It's not right.
Yeah.
I want to control over my body and soul, because I think there's also, it's also, I would say not without any danger. I mean, to leave your body,
No, I don't think so either. Just I was so excited it happened, and then that, I wish I.
See, I don't get to that. I don't get to that point of like feeling like that levitating part, but I start to see, like, if I start to see like random geometric shapes, it feels like I get transported to like somewhere, like a location, like in the middle of like somewhere, and everything is real. Everything feels real. You can smell the room. You can see the vivid colors.
You're close, then, dude. Yeah.
And then you start to. It's like, I guess the best way to approach that is if you are like extremely exhausted, like you're just so exhausted that when you start to pass out, when you start to go to sleep, your brain starts falling asleep faster than your body does, I guess. And then you get to the point where you can't discern if it's a dream or if it's actually real, and then you kind of snap back out of it. Is what I experience.
I think what happens there is that for the most of you, it happens and you're not in control, so you snap out of it, right?
That makes sense.
Once you accept that it's happening to you, then you can control it.
Yeah, then it's fine. But I don't like it when it happens when I'm not in control. Then I try to fight it. And that night it was so hard. And like I said, and then I heard that frequency.
Yeah, that could have been that effect, right? Right.
Talking about messed up dreams, me and Jerry were in a chat. We were showing each other augmented reality, and then we went into like political correctness debates. So that night, my brain decided to create a masterful dream for me, where the government forcefully implanted everybody with chips in their head. These chips in your head,
like Doritos.
Yeah, like if you weren't being sure, they were shaped as Dorito. They slide in here. So if you weren't being,
that's your stack.
Yeah. You were being politically correct.
Stacks are shaped like Pringles.
Yeah. Sorry, dude. Okay, go ahead.
This stack is sponsored by Pringles.
No trans fats, bro. No trans fats.
If you were not, if you were about to say something politically incorrect, then all of your vision blurred and focused in on what you were going to say. And then this program would run you through the ripple effects through everybody's lives, because everybody's connected to it, and how it would affect everybody's lives. And depending on how bad of something you were going to say, it would take anywhere from like 15 minutes to 5 days to run you through the ripple effects of your bad behavior. And this was going on. And as I was progressively getting tired of it, the more I was trying to think, the more I was thinking of bad things to say, the longer it would take, to a point where I was stuck for like 3 years in one spot, where this thing was taking me through this thing of this disasterful phrase would have pretty much cracked the world in half.
3 years.
And yeah, and it just, I got so sick of it, I finally got out of it and ended my life.
Wasn't it to stop you trolling?
I don't know what it was. It was just stop being politically incorrect, I guess, was the whole message of it. But
trolling away.
It's mind control.
Yeah,
it
was a form of mind control. It was messed up, and I didn't like it.
So you were kidnapped by liberals.
Yeah, pretty much. So I woke up in a cold sweat with my heart beating because I had to, the only way I could get out of that reality was to take my life. And as soon as I did that in my dream, I snapped out of it. And
you had to take your life.
Are you on days off?
That was the only way to disconnect.
Wow.
Where are you?
I'm at my house. I'm back. I'm out.
He's on vacation. No.
Yeah.
What life path are you?
9.
Same as me, a 9. With a master's.
Hey, same as me too.
Yeah, Grim, sorry. I'm forgetting Grim. He's been so quiet.
Yeah.
9. There was loads of people.
That dream was messed up. I don't dream often, but
that's far out, dude. Yeah.
Why can't you have messed up dreams without me in them?
You always started for me, man.
You're the catalyst, Gary. The catalyst for the weird.
Yeah.
I thought you
said catfish.
Actually reminded me of a dream I had where the earth cracked apart in 2 halves.
That's going to happen soon.
Man. Probably.
When the Bureau gets here.
I'm just hoping California's on the other half.
Yeah, I'll be okay then, yeah.
I had this crazy dream where I was trying to, Ryan Sprague was in it. And it was like this crazy thing. I'm trying to meet him and try to pick this dude's brain and shit. It was fucked up, man. It was really weird.
How terrible Trump is.
Yeah, exactly. It was like this whole crazy. I'm like, I need to get this guy on and see if he's really like that or not. And it was like this whole ordeal. It was really weird. Like, why the fuck is Ryan Sprague in my head? It was really odd, dude.
Who's Ryan Sprague?
He hosts the Somewhere in the Skies podcast. He wrote a segment in Robbie Graham's UFOs Reframing the Debate.
Oh yeah, that's a good book.
Got a podcast. I think it's called
but he's an ultra liberal. He's one of those guys that will tweet back to Trump all day long, just telling him how stupid he is.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to actually meet the guy and see if he was really like that. And it was really weird. It was like I got to the point where
that's how he really is, though.
I tweet to Trump all the time.
Well, not ferociously, just foaming at the mouth with rage.
Only just spelling error.
It almost got to the point where I was gonna actually email the dude.
I honestly feel that Trump does all those spelling errors just to troll people,
just to fuck with people.
Dude, I swear he does. I mean, probably not, but in my mind, I want to think that he's the ultimate troll.
God, Dad. And now they're
maybe he lets one of his grandkids tweet for him.
Yeah, just have the kids do it.
That's why there's some spelling errors once in a while.
Here, take the POTUS account. It's all good.
When he was interviewed by Piers Morgan, he asked him, do you actually send these tweets? And he said, yeah, most of them are actually him doing it.
I believe it.
And he could be in bed, he could be reckless, basically, or...
Yeah.
When I read the tweets, I read them in the cadence of his voice, it sounds like him talking.
Yeah.
But dude, I mean, honestly, he knows he could dominate a news cycle just with one tweet. He can control the media with that. So he's I don't think he's that stupid.
They're playing right into his hands. It's so ridiculous.
Exactly.
God.
So I don't know.
I had a dream. I know I talk about my cat a lot, but my cat sleeps on my hip a lot of the time.
Cat lady.
And in my dream, I've got her tucked under my arm on my hip, and she's coming in the dream with me. It was crazy.
You were holding her on your hip in the dream?
And I woke up and she was still laying on my hip, and she actually came in my dream. That was a bit, that was interesting.
That's funny.
Yeah, I've never had a cat come in my dreams with me before.
But you were, okay, so wait, so you were laying, the cat was physically touching you at the time?
Yeah, I was in bed. She lays on my hip a lot of the time. If I'm on my side, she was laying on my hip, and in the dream, she was on my hip, attached to my hip in the dream with me.
Wow.
And I woke up and she was still there.
Has anyone ever noticed, like, when you have dreams, like, what type of clothes you're wearing?
No, I never remember that.
Or care about it.
Well,
yeah, in that dream where I'm going to the bathroom in the middle of the square.
It depends.
I have underwear and a shirt.
Right?
They're down around my. Oh, that dream was so horrible.
You're
I don't remember.
in a t-shirt and the bottom is like naked. It's like.
No, I was sitting on a toilet, like in the middle of the square where everybody could see me, and I was trying to figure out how to get up and pull up my pants without anybody seeing me. So it was just like this reoccurring dream, like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And I'm looking around.
You were wearing a muumuu.
I don't think I've dreamt about being naked ever.
I did. Well, toilet dream I had too, that the door was open and people could just watch me, and I was just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. But the thing was nobody could see anything, and I was trying to figure out how I was going to, keep that.
I've never had those type of dreams.
I've had tons.
I think it's like feeling exposed.
Exposed, yeah.
No, it's also insecurity can bring them on.
You guys ever have dreams where your teeth are falling out?
All the time.
Oh, yeah.
And then they started falling out for real.
I had that not so long ago where I felt like it was horrible, my whole like top gum and teeth, and I was holding them and looking at like it was false teeth.
You're grinding your
teeth. I was just holding them. It was horrible. Freaked me out.
I found out I was just grinding my teeth.
Grind them, and I spit out little pieces of my teeth, but it doesn't stop. Like
in your dream or in real life?
In real life, I would have put a gun to my head already.
Okay, no, that's the exact same dream I used to have too, where you're just grinding your teeth and they're breaking off in your mouth. And
you need a mouth guard, Jerry.
Well, no, they fell out. My teeth are gone. It doesn't matter now.
Yeah, my wife, she's got those mouth guards. Yeah, you would hear her just sawing away.
I started clenching my
jaw, dude.
Oh my God, I clench my jaw so much anymore.
I don't grind my teeth, but I clench, apparently.
I do both.
I notice that sometimes when I wake up, my face hurts, and I know it's not from laughing in the middle of the night. So it's from putting them together.
Leonidas, I heard like a thing recently about with trying to find yourself and look at, like you talk about in your dream or whatever, you're not yourself. Like you can't ever see yourself. And it had to do with like mirrors and, and like, you'll never see yourself. It's like the weirdest thing. I think it was a culture or something there.
Oh, when you go in front of a mirror, you don't.
Yeah.
There's nobody there.
There's nobody there. Yeah.
You just triggered
a vampire.
It'd be weirder if you didn't have you could see yourself, but you didn't have a face.
Fuck.
or what if you looked in the mirror and you started tearing pieces of your face off like in Poltergeist?
You triggered a dream memory of mine by mentioning that. I actually had a dream about I placed I was in a room and I placed two mirrors in front of each other, and I placed
it's a flashback.
And I placed I put some type of bridge in between it, and I put massive amount of amperage between these two mirrors and open some type of portal.
Whoa!
Oh man.
Have you tried it in real life?
This was a long time ago. I think it was.
Dude, you got some shit going on, dude. What the fuck?
This is in your dream, or you did this in real life?
See, the aliens are giving him information on cool free energy devices, and you're wasting it.
Yeah.
Well, start producing that stuff.
Build that shit, man. Build it.
I need to start writing my dreams down because
I often have dreams of men, but they've never got a face or a head.
Are they named Lee or Damon?
Who?
No, I'm kidding.
Did you say Lee?
I did say Lee.
That's not funny. No, they've never got a head.
No, but
thing. Yeah, but
like their head was chopped off.
Well, no, you just can't see their face. Like it's supposed to be there, but you just can't see who it is.
Was it really tall and slender?
Slender Man?
No, it wasn't Slender Man. Just because you've been dreaming about your love your whole life, but you don't know what he looks like.
Well, they're not short men anyway. Let's put it that way.
I've had vivid dreams. Like, for instance, I had a random dream a while ago. I was in New York City. I was on a street, very detailed. I was in a random apartment, waiting outside this apartment complex, and I went inside with these random people I've never met before in my life. I don't know who they are, but I remember in detail what they look like. Their facial, like their face, everything, what they were wearing, color clothes.
Wow, that's weird.
I've never met them before.
Nobody you recognize from a movie?
I dream about people I don't recognize at times, but
not at all.
Sometimes they don't have a face.
That's interesting.
I try to find all you guys when I go to sleep. I try.
Do you?
Sure, yeah, definitely.
So if I start dreaming about you, I know you're astral projecting. You're trying to find us.
Yeah, I'll be around. Yeah.
Well, if you try to, I don't know if you all try to.
I'll have to daydream though, because you'll be sleeping when I'm awake.
Or maybe not.
I don't
know if you.
I'm definitely an active daydreamer. When I'm constructing in the drywall universe,
all about the drywall universe,
dude. Yeah, yeah.
Birds. The only person I dreamt about here is Anya. When she was staying with me, I actually dreamt about her, which was interesting. She was telling my family that they're going to pay the price for what they've done.
Wait. We need to get her to say it in her voice, though. Your parents are going to pay the price. Say it like Arnold Schwarzenegger and then fail to make a jingle out of it. It'd be awesome.
She said it really, really slow and precise. She says, I can't do it. You're going to pay the price for what you've done.
Du wirst dafür bezahlen.
I mean, try to do lucid dreaming and stuff.
Using boner time.
Try to hold on to an object while you sleep and see if you can bring that into your dream.
Well, I brought my cat into my dream.
Well, that's what I'm saying. See if you can replicate that.
Okay.
Build a cat
holding something.
I tried to bring it out of my dream, but that didn't work.
So I take my tarot cards into my dream, hold them when I go to sleep. See if I can...
You do multitask.
I'll try that.
Or I think what I'm going to do for the next remote viewing, I'm going to print out the coordinates on a piece of paper, fold it up. I'm going to hold it in my hand while I fall asleep and see if I can dream about those, what the target is.
Interesting.
I tried it and I kept visualizing that number, but every time I really saw it in my third eye, I just fell asleep. So that didn't work for me. But I was visualizing it in my third eye, but no, I just zonked out. So
there's so many ways you can try to do that. I mean, visualize it, find it. I don't know. Leonidas knows a lot of different ways too. He's been practicing. All of us have, really. Failed has. We've been practicing remote viewing and trying to find these targets and stuff.
Yeah, I tried different planetary
yes,
cycles, and Every time I do one, I try something different, something new. So.
Have you tried it on a full moon?
Oh, that's
no.
a good idea.
No, I haven't.
That might be more powerful.
But that might be a challenge because he does have a timeline, like a deadline. So
yeah,
if there's a full moon in between that, and that's something I'll definitely try next time for sure.
Yeah, might be more powerful.
I just need to do it like 2 hours before it's due.
No way, Grim. You're just like me.
I procrastinate.
Oh yeah, I gotta email this
because Adam Loyal sent me a message. He's like, "Dude, viewing's due in 2 hours," and I'm like, "Oh shit!"
I never even got the target.
I have a target for you right here, dude. I got the first one for his new podcast.
When are you doing it? Wasn't last night?
No, I haven't done it yet.
When is the show though? Hold on.
Here's the target number
wait,
here.
Let me show everyone.
That got lots of 8s in it.
Oh, is this for Adam?
Oh, wow.
Yep.
What made you pick that number, if you don't mind asking?
No, actually, what happened was when I went out west to Oregon for the Grimerica contacted the cabin, I forgot some stuff, and Adam Loyal, Friends to Know podcast, he brought it home with him and he sent it to me. He sent me this package, and right here inside this, I have no clue what it is, and this is the target number for remote viewing. If I can get it right here.
But she asked how you picked the numbers.
I did not pick the numbers. Adam did it.
Oh, okay.
The wrapping's a little jacked because my kid tried to open it. I'm like, give me that. But yeah. I'm like, do not open the. So it's fully sealed for sure. But like, I mean, you can't tell, but it's in fluorescent pink duct tape, which is even better. But yeah, that if everyone can see that, I split the numbers in half. I find it like an address. That's the kind of way I do it. Because it's kind of hard to like soak in all those numbers and be like, fuck, where is this thing? What is in here? What is in this box?
Is that the picture? The package itself?
This is the package itself. So we're gonna on Adam's new show. What the fuck is it called?
Cat in a Box. Cat
in the box. Yes.
Synchro.
Yeah, and I will have the first remote viewing target inside this box. We're getting pretty good at it, but
we've had hits
for everybody.
The last show that we were on, what was it again? Oh, the blue liquid. That was crazy,
dude. Well, yeah, it was some type of a bath, like additive to your bath to like wash away spirits.
But it was called like oh fuck, I can't remember.
They had a great name, dude. Yeah, I don't know.
Something eraser, like spirit eraser or something like that.
Yeah, it was awesome. But we all get like it was in this cylinder case or casing, and we all got really freaking close to it. Like I don't know. When he releases the last episode, you'll hear everyone's
why isn't it out yet?
I don't know. He's probably editing it. It'll probably be out I want to say Monday or something. I don't know, but
I have mine right
anyway. But yeah, so remote viewing is a fun exercise, and I think what it is, it's all about like exploring the ways that you can control your brain and how to hone in on these things, because there's so many ways to do it.
Well, I think it's a great way to practice different techniques and meditation.
Right. Yeah.
Sure. Even if you don't hit the target.
Nah. Yeah. You could be close.
You're still developing. You know, it's like anything you do in life. You have to practice on your craft over and over and over to become a master of it.
Yeah.
Master of your domain.
Mm-hmm. Can you guys teach me how to remote view?
Teach me how to remote view.
Teach me how to remote view.
You have to ask it the proper way to James, and then
King of your castle.
And Graham, you got to stop treating it like a homework assignment.
I know.
Yeah. Try to get it done like 1 hour before.
Enjoy the process, dude. Like, yeah, set and setting, dude. It's like it's weird. I mean, yeah, like you can relax before you go to bed and try it, or when I don't know. Sometimes, yeah, like Leonidas says, like
shit, do it at work.
When you're kind of tired, yeah.
I could, dude. Sometimes when I'm fucking just doing a real mundane thing, it's like meditation. Like I just zone out.
What you want to do is you want to get a nice, cool,
I just need you to talk to me
cool,
like that.
Damp area, like a mushroom.
The energy. You want to feel the cold.
Feel the water flow over your body.
Happy little trees.
Just step into the meat locker.
Just make
the
meat
breathe with the waves.
Right in there.
Still live in the meat locker.
And just start to feel the cold wrapping around your body. Nice and cool.
Yeah.
Then once you do that, then just ease your mind and slowly let it fade into the fabric of space-time. And then
Jack,
start.
Do hypnosis meditation.
I was gonna say he's hypnotizing me.
Put yourself in stereo mode and do some ASMR.
And then what you want to do is you want to drop. What you want to do is you want to drop those 3 hits of acid, and then start thinking of the numbers. And then once the acid starts to really wrap your brain into this easy, colorful melody in front of your eyes in the visual sense, you'll get it.
Are we supposed to manifest the acid in our hands?
No, you gotta buy it from.
There's the acid fairy coming around and delivering it.
That's some
shady virtual dose. Yeah.
Oh man, wouldn't that be cool?
Totally.
What if to make your own acid?
No, to be able to like get virtual doses.
Yeah, the virtual dose. Everyone's dropped in the night.
What'd you do last night? I dropped some astrally projected acid.
I met a guy a couple of years back.
Double A, dude. I got this shit called double A. It's insane.
I met this dude a couple of years back who actually told me he believed that they were dropping LSD on everybody. That's what like the chemtrails or LSD, and we were all like conditioned into believing that we weren't tripping.
So this is allegedly a trip, then?
Yes. So, and what I said to him,
what is real life, or what is
is this real life?
Not a trip.
Is this real life? No, but I asked him. I'm like, dude. Okay, so what is
just fantasy?
What is it? That's a synchro. What is it that happens to you when you take real acid? Then, or
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
But failed. No, before I started this, I was trying to weave in those lyrics into the show intro tonight.
No, nice. Really? I didn't even know that.
I named the show "Is This Real Life?"
What Queen song did I just post in the chat the other day?
Bicycle Girls.
Gillendale says he believed that you could keep an acid trip rolling for a lifetime.
You never know.
I remember when I was growing up, I was probably like 15 or something, and me and one of my friends, we were hanging out in the living room, and my dad was in the kitchen, and I was watching that show, that Tim Allen sitcom back in the day, Home Improvement.
Yeah, Home Improvement.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And yeah, and it was at the end of one of the episodes, and they were all dressed up like astronauts, and they were playing In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida. And my dad was like, man, back in those days, you could take a trip without even leaving your house. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah. And I was like, I was probably 13. Like, and then me and my dude look at each other, because we kind of heard of acid about around that age or something, And I remember, like, we started looking at each other. All three of us were like, yeah, it was the stupidest thing, but I'll never forget it, dude. Yeah. Yeah.
Childhood memories.
I'm going to take this to bed with me and see if I dream with it.
What, acid? What?
The crystal?
So, wow.
You told me about that. What is that?
Did I?
It's a weird shaped butt plug.
Did you get that from America?
No.
You
Did that come in the mail?
told me about
that.
No. Wait.
I'm going to focus on that tonight. I'm going to find it on you.
It's like you're going to find it on me?
Yeah, totally.
or in you.
With the butt plug, you'll know where it is.
It's not going to be there.
I'm all in there. I'm going to find it. I'm totally
okay. Challenge on, James.
Yeah.
Which office is my crystal inserted?
Jerry, I've never told you about this. I'm sure I haven't.
You either shopped for it or you told me someone was sending it to you.
No, I bought this myself.
You went like shopping a week ago, maybe?
No, I've had this year's. You're having some sort of other memory.
Then you've talked about having it before.
I'm sure I haven't.
Okay.
Maybe in another lifetime, but
no, you were just talking about buying crystals. No, she was talking about buying crystals a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. So what's the thing with crystals and like people saying like certain type of crystals will make you have more vivid dreams or nightmares?
Anya's probably more the expert on this, but yeah, like amethyst or clear quartz, they can have different effects.
Yeah, and I find like with crystal, it depends always on the person. Like crystals, in my opinion, affect everybody different.
Yeah.
Plus, crystals only have like a certain time of influence, so they can start things, but they cannot finish it. You have to do the rest. Like let's say headache, you might rub it to your temple for a while, but it will not take it all the way away. Or like same with nightmares, maybe it influences you, but it will stop after a while. That's just what I think.
So is each crystal, does it have like its own frequency, like a fingerprint?
Yeah, it all got every crystal got its own energy thing, yeah.
But is that frequency measurable?
That I don't know.
Might be.
It's like rose quartz. They always say about rose quartz for love, but I personally do not like rose quartz. So it's like a prescription. It's not for everybody, is it?
No, it isn't. And that's what I find with every crystal. Like one might put rose quartz in the water and it might be good for you, and others use it for love. I'm the same way, Trisha. I don't associate it with love at all. And others might not be able to drink it because it makes them sick, gives them a stomach ache. It's
who was talking about the dream with the faceless person? Was that you, Trish?
Yeah, I've had dreams of they're always men. They don't have faces.
So there was a story that came across of this person who got a specific type of crystal, and they were having, when this crystal was in their room, they would have these dreams of these faceless men.
Oh,
so I'm wondering, like, I can't remember what type of crystal it was, but seeing that you have a crystal, you probably have crystals within your bedroom when you sleep.
I do have they're all heart-shaped crystals on this spiral, but they're different colors.
I mean, you can charge crystals with energy, right? You can charge them.
Like, can you charge crystals? Is there a way to charge a crystal through residual magic? Like if you were to project a sigil through the crystal,
I'm very
perhaps
sure.
amplify that crystal. Would that amplify the effect of that sigil?
I'd imagine you could.
Yes, I strongly believe that.
Okay, it's interesting. I'm just thinking I'm just having different thought processes of how to do certain things.
Experiment. Have a go.
Yeah, you can for sure do that with crystals.
And I would say, I mean, I go for what I'm drawn to, because what somebody might say the textbook is you may not be drawn to it whatsoever, So if you see crystals, go for what really draws you in, I would say.
They have to be real crystals, not the fake ones.
Yeah, real ones.
Big
like the little
gemstones,
I don't think they do anything and that they're real, because if someone tells you they sell you a crystal for $2 as a gemstone, I think it's bullshit.
Yeah, it's probably from China.
What about charging people an arm and a leg for cubic zirconia?
So
what would be like what would be a good place to find like authentic crystals?
Instagram.
Dude, Leo, go down by Mammoth Cave, man. There's like a million thrift shops, and they are like little stores, and they all have so many stones and crystals in there.
Are they anywhere near where we're gonna be?
Start licking them and be like, "Yep, that's the one."
Just go down there. I got Maringo Cave next to me. I'll go to Maringo Cave because they sell crystals.
Yeah, dude, go there. Just go to the gift shops, man. They're loaded with crystals.
Yeah,
we should find a cave near that thing we're going to.
Yeah, dude, man.
I can't remember the name of it. Paracon or GhostCon? Crypticon.
Yeah, Crypticon. Yeah, dude, we could totally hit up some caves. There's tons.
Cool. We could do like a podcast from in a cave.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Like live stream. We're in the cave hunting crystals.
We need one of those.
Swing by Harry Hubbard's, would you?
One of them Zoom
I used to love amethyst, and I'm not drawn to amethyst at the moment. And I think you're drawn to different ones at different times.
So I can take the big amethyst that you wanted off my list?
I like citrine. I'm just saying citrine.
Yeah, me too. Citrine. Yeah.
I used to carry around a little like oval piece of labradorite for like 3 years in my pocket.
Jerry,
wear amethyst.
I'm a big fan of diamonds, like something.
One this size, Jack.
Yeah,
you guys have a shit ton of gemstones.
Just put that in your back pocket for a rainy day.
Yeah.
I went through a phase where I bought gemstones
you
on
ever
that
need a gift
gemstone channel.
Yeah, there was a ton of caves.
There's so many of them.
In this area for sure.
I'd like to get you in a cave, Leo.
It's like let's say moonstone, right? Supposedly carried with you at
Supposedly.
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 But I'm never gonna do it again because it will just double the effect of the full moon, and I'm like going crazy as it is, so I don't need a moonstone to make it a bit.
Why are you going crazy? Only the reptilians are supposed to be going crazy right now.
What's that?
Moonstone.
Tanya, you're going crazy.
You're going crazy.
What's that process called? Like, what's that process called of getting into crystals and
crystal?
Crystalline.
Crystallization.
No. There's a technique.
It's
no.
gemology.
It's crystal blue persuasion.
That's not what I'm thinking of.
Crystal blue persuasion. I love that song.
Using crystal energy for healing purposes. What is that called?
Reiki.
Yes. Okay, here we go. That's what I was thinking of.
That's what Lauren does.
Yeah, she does. I need to talk to her.
Yeah.
Reiki
wait. She administers Reiki?
She does like remote Reiki or something?
That's probably not a good idea.
Reiki really made my third eye open, like boom. It did work on me. But it wasn't remote. Mine was hands-on.
Why do you say that's not a good idea, Gary?
For reasons which I will discuss offline.
Okay.
You've got to be careful of the energy of the person that's doing the Reiki on you or sending it to you as well.
Take that statement into account and you'll figure out why.
Yeah. You want to be someone that's
remote healings too, and it's working well.
It does. And you did one on me where I couldn't hardly swallow, could I? Remember, like I don't have tonsils. I never get sore throats, and I got such a sore throat where I couldn't swallow. She did something that was gone within for half an hour, was it?
Oh, wow.
I was going to make a spit joke, but I'm not.
Yeah.
You would think you swallow, right? You would think I could so read it on your face.
He always takes it to the gutter.
I mean, that's interesting. I find the other one interesting with the harmonic frequencies of things where they use the tuning rods, and they can like tune in on certain areas of your body. Like they can find like it's weird. They see it as like tree rings of your life. You know, as in like they can pinpoint like what age you were when like you fucked up your back, and like, and then they can change the frequency of it, and then boom, like I guess there's teachings of that, and you can learn how to do that with these tuning rods.
Interesting, because it's frequency kind of, right?
Yes. Yeah. Like your body has this aura around it, like an egg shape type thing, couple feet out.
Tuning forks, aren't they?
Yeah, and that's how that's how they say it. It's like you have this aura around you. That's your light body or whatever it is, and there's these like tree ring segments. Like when you cut a tree and you see all the different rings. of your age, and like they can like go in and, but then they're in the pain, I guess they can find it. It's those things send off different frequencies as they're running these forks over you, and they can find that shit, and then they can retune it and with a different frequency.
Because they would be able to tell.
Yeah, I guess they're supposedly that's how it works. I would say look into it. I don't have the links or anything right now to put in there, but it's something I can try to find for you that I've listened to. And
there's several modalities where they can do that and find out. They'll know what age you were when you got injured, or when you might have gone through a trauma. Yeah,
like tons of different trauma. It could be mental. It could be. I'm just talking about an injury. Yeah, it could be mental. Tons of things like that. Like, they just zap it out of you. It's very interesting stuff, and that's why it just triggered that with the Reiki talk. And I didn't really fully understand. I mean, I've heard of Reiki, obviously, but this never dove into the study of that yet. So many things I gotta jump off a cliff, and
all the tools are
land in a pool of it
all around us at our disposal. We just have to find it.
Sure, grabbing a rock, like, you know, Trish is holding this gem right now. I'm gonna go find it tonight. And I don't know. It's a visual cue that I can hone in on or something. I got to go all the way to Texas to find it.
All right, she's from Texas.
It's a throwback. Sorry.
All right. Lost me that.
She's from Texas. She's got a Texan accent.
I have not got a Texan accent. How the hell have I got a Texan accent?
It's totally.
I just don't get that. Do I sound Texan, Anya?
No, you don't sound anything like Texan. It's a joke.
Exactly.
It's a joke.
Actually, it sounds like we might be able to convince her that she does have a Texas accent.
Wait a minute. Do I?
She keeps asking us if she does. We can tell her she does.
No, I don't believe it. But if you go to Texas, you'll be a long time finding this crystal.
No, not at all. No, I'm totally just making an accent joke. That's all I'm doing. But I love your accent. I think it's beautiful. It's amazing.
Thank you. I'm not Texan.
Well, it's weird because when I was in England for 2 weeks, it was just 2 weeks. Like when I got back, I noticed like very subtle things. Like when I was talking, I was picking up that local.
You pick up words and phraseologies and stuff. Yeah,
stuff like that. Like I noticed it's weird. Like just 2 weeks being out there.
Would you start to speak a bit more posh?
A little bit.
I still don't know what posh means.
What is posh? Posh is like snooty, rich British
Posh
people
is one of the Spice Girls, I'm pretty sure. Posh.
I know. That's what I thought.
Think about like the dude, Mr. Longtooth on Family Guy. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's snooty. That's posh.
Say Chevrolet.
Snooty. Well, that's what I thought it was. Snooty.
Can you say Chevrolet Camaro for me?
Chevy.
No, he wants her to say Chevrolet.
Me?
Chevrolet. Yeah. Say Chevrolet Camaro for me.
Chevrolet Camaro.
I'll say Chevy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Chevrolet Camaro.
Chevrolet Camaro.
I like it.
I can tell you if you come down to Crypticon, you're gonna run into some very thick Southern accent down here. Okay.
I think we should start a GoFundMe to get Anya
That's good, Leo.
and Trisha and all your rest of you.
Aluminum.
To Crypticon.
Yeah, aluminum.
What was that, Jerry?
Send the Hive to Crypticon. GoFundMe.
Flies out to Crypticon. What's this Bigfoot thing?
That's what we're gonna go find out.
It's our mind control overlords who control the Greys.
Yeah.
Interdimensional monkeys.
They're the Nephilim.
We'll probably get abducted or something.
They could be the Watchers.
They're gonna throw me right back. They can't handle me. They're like
the Watchers are in the clouds.
Watchers are rocks. I saw it on Noah.
Noah.
They're in the clouds. I've seen them watch me.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop the stream because it's 2:30. 2 hours, 30 minutes. Thank you, everyone. This was a horrible synchro night.
Oh, dude, this was a good night.
Was it?
Why was that horrible?
Yeah, it was.
No one had any synchros really.
We were trying to bring it back a lot. Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know.
Tried hard.
But anyway.
Try harder.
Yeah, I tried to bring in some synchros.
Harder. I mean, try harder. I didn't mean to sound. Never mind.
What did you sound like?
What are you doing over there, Anya?
Smoking weed, apparently.
I'm still ripping that audio clip right there. Oh.
All right. Say good night.
Oh, Anya, you're going to regret that.
And you're going to be in
oh my God. You're going to have a jingle.
Bye. Everyone say goodbye.
All right, y'all take care now. You hear?
Thanks, everyone.
Good night, John boy.
Auf Wiedersehen.